Greetings, everyone. Birds of Prey has now opened. The movie was praised by the entertainment media and professional critics ahead of its release. But now, strangely, it appears it has underperformed at the box office. How can this be? In this live discussion, we'll be covering just that, the good, the bad, and the ugly about the movie. Joining me to discuss that is, as usual, Tom and Rob. Hey guys.
Hello, everybody.
Also, we have a special guest joining us this episode. I'm very pleased to welcome the commentator formerly known as the Roaming Millennial, currently more known for her own series Pseudo Intellectual, as well as for being a host at Blaze TV and for her appearances at, among other places, The Rubin Report, The Ben Shapiro Show, and Fox News. Welcome, Lauren Chen.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. I'm a huge fan of your channel, so it's really cool.
Oh, thank you very much.
And it's really cool to have you here. Lauren, let's begin with you. Birds of Prey, what does the brand mean to you, and how excited were you for it just going in?
I wasn't very familiar with Birds of Prey from the comics before I heard about this movie, but I enjoyed Harley Quinn from Suicide Squad. It's probably one of the few things that I took away as being good from that movie. So I was actually, back when the film was first announced, pretty excited for it. My opinions changed a little bit as I saw more of the marketing releases and kind of some of the interviews that Margot Robbie and Ewan McGregor were giving specifically. But I guess going into it, I was expecting mostly to like it. I didn't have anything that would lead me to think it would be bad.
Well, that's good to know going in. Guys, how about you? How excited were you for Birds of Prey going in? Rob?
Not really very excited. I mean, I'm familiar with Birds of Prey from the comic. I remember the CW television series. I had nothing against it. Just was like, okay, that's a movie. Okay, that's really all I thought about it.
Tom, how excited were you?
Not really, which is kind of weird because of all of us, I think I probably enjoyed Suicide Squad the most. But again, that was one of those things where at that time, all the movies we had gotten before that had really not lived up to my expectations. So Suicide Squad was kind of a breath of fresh air at that point, and I know how horribly received it was by people. Trust me, I don't love the movie by any stretch of the imagination. But when I heard about this, I had zero really excitement for it, or I wasn't really looking forward to it. I didn't really care that it existed. As far as Birds of Prey and in and of itself, the only Birds of Prey I know before this was Batman's daughter on a TV show. So otherwise, the only I hear Birds of Prey, I think of owls, eagles, hawks, not the comic book. It's not something I normally would think about.
And as for me, as you all know, I am a comic book reader. But mostly, I'm a comic book reader for all things Marvel, all things Vertigo, some things Dark Horse, plenty of things Scandinavian, not so much DC. So I'm honestly not at all familiar with the Birds of Prey or really any of the characters in it. So I went into the movie. Well, I didn't like Suicide Squad in the slightest, and this is very much a follow-up to that. So I went in not excited in the slightest. So that's our expectations going in. But expectations aside, how did we like the movie itself? Just like a short summary before we start digging into the specifics. Lauren?
I think it's a mixed bag. It's not terrible. It's not awful. It's better than Cats. A lot of people have been comparing it to that. I think it's definitely better. If you're looking for just an action movie and you just want to see more Harley Quinn, Margot Robbie, then it's fine. And the people who I went to see it with, they enjoyed it. But if you're someone who's kind of tired of political messaging in film and you care more about things like character and story, then you're probably going to be more critical of it. I don't regret seeing it, though. It's just that I probably won't be rewatching it anytime soon.
All right, Rob, you can say it now. It was better.
Go on,
say it
Rob.
now?
Share your
Yeah,
feelings.
I loved it. It was much better than Cats. I'm going to see it again and again. That's an
And
old
it's
lesson.
actually true.
Yes, it's actually true this time. Oh boy, this seems
What'd
like
you
a
think, Rob?
superhero. This seems like a superhero movie from the '90s. It really does. I mean, it has a I don't want to say an overt cheapness to it, but the whole look and aesthetic, it just reminds me of something I would have seen around 1993 or 94. It's very much played. I don't want to say it's played for laughs, but it's they're trying to go the Deadpool route with this. And oh God. It's just hard to describe. It just falls far short. I mean, I don't think this is the kind of character that you could possibly do Deadpool because all you're thinking of is it. Wow, this is like Deadpool. I wish, and it's almost sad because it deserves its own identity. Tom, what do you think?
Considering I actually kind of liked Suicide Squad, I was really disappointed in the movie. And when everybody, maybe it was probably a result of everybody hyping it up so much the last few days, because it was like everybody's like, oh, it's not that bad, and it's getting an 80 whatever on Rotten Tomatoes, and I know that's just an aggregator, and I'm not even going to get into that. I'm just saying it's like, and across the board, it seems like most of the people I've heard from have said, oh, it's not that bad. Now, Mr. H, obviously he's in the chat, he hated it. I'm with Mr. H. I thought it was horrible. I thought it was, I've seen this movie already. It was called Deadpool 2 and Suicide Squad. Really, I don't know what else to say. And the bad guy should have been the Joker. I mean, what else is there to this movie? I mean, I'm not saying that Ewan McGregor did a bad job, but it just felt like 5 movies crammed into one. And I know Andre will probably have a comment about that. So I'm just going to leave it at that.
Certainly. As for me, I thought the movie was frustrating because there was loads of good in it. Those Deadpool things that you refer to, I liked them.
It was better handled here, yes.
Yeah, it was. It could have been so much fun, and some parts of it really were fun. What took me out of it was this overt political message in it. This, it's obviously intended to be a feminist movie, and by feminist, I mean the most modern definition, which is really misandrist, because that's what the movie was. Like, there was literally one good character or one decent male character in it, just one. And we'll get back to that later. Said some kudos. Hey, Mr. H, that's in the chat, and the Critical Drinker. Good to see you guys in the chat as well. Hope you enjoyed it. Drinker did not. Then I look forward to your review. So we have that to look forward to. Overall, no, I thought it was just frustrating because it could have been so good. It should have been so good. But instead, they went all in on the politics. And they said so out loud to begin with. Ewan McGregor was like very clear that this is all about dealing with all of the shit that women have to deal with every single day. I don't know quite how, but I'm not going to comment on that. I'm curious to hear what you feel about that, Lauren. Did this movie empower you?
Yeah, I mean, I found it very relatable. I hate being a woman when I'm constantly being tracked down by, you know, gangs of mercenaries. It's just very annoying. Just something all ladies have to deal with. Actually, to your point, I was also keeping track throughout the movie of around 30 minutes in, I noticed the pattern of it seems like they're painting this pretty clearly like men versus women in terms of who's on the good team, who's on the bad team. And I mean, the one character who I think you're saying was the decent man, he ends up kind of not being so decent if we're thinking of the same character anyway. It's really we're not?
No.
Okay. Then I'm not sure then. But it got kind of tiring because I can see a movie and not agree with its politics. I think that's fine. I didn't think Captain Marvel was as bad as a lot of people did. You know, Charlie's Angels was pretty terrible, but I can see past politics, but with Birds of Prey, it was bad, lazy writing, right? Because all of the characters were caricatures, and that's just not interesting. Even Harley Quinn, I think it's kind of tenuous building an entire movie around her specifically anyway, and they just did not develop her at all.
Yeah, those are very good. So one good male character in the whole movie. It wasn't the chef, the one who's you have to have additional to make his food edible. Not him, because he turned out to sell her out in the end anyway, which of course just fits in with the overall theme. No, it was one of the hitman. The one hitman that took pity on Huntress, and
that's the only guy who wasn't an asshole. But he's only in there for a moment.
Her and trained her. No, he's not even on screen for more than a second. Then
that's what I'm saying. You barely see him.
Yeah, he doesn't even have any lines, I don't think. He's just like a montage character or a flashback.
Yeah,
character.
Just like a montage character.
Yeah.
Just a flashback. So, of course, him we have to go through. Of course, loads of attention is spent on what a piece of shit Harleen's father was. That had to abandon her several times over before he really did it. No mention of the mother or anything. Mm-hmm. So went all in on painting every single man as evil, inept, an asshole, not being able to fight since 400 guys were beaten up by these 4 women.
Yeah, but you know who could beat Harley Quinn up was the drunk middle-aged cop who was a lady.
She's the only one who got a hit on her. Yeah.
Yeah. Surprisingly.
Unless she was drunk or knocked out. Well, not knocked out, but incapacitated when she got hit with the dart.
Yeah.
That's often. Oh, sorry.
Carry on.
Sorry, go ahead, Andre.
No, I was just going to say that.
I was about to say that's a problem. That's a problem we have with a lot of these sort of feminist kind of message things. And it's a problem we had actually right off the bat with Star Trek Discovery. They showed 2 95-pound women take down an entire ship of Klingons. I'm like, I'm all for suspending disbelief, but no, come on.
Well, that was as bad as Harley taking out the entire police station with, what was it, a beanbag gun?
Yeah.
What were you going to say, Andre?
I was just going to say that in reference to what really took down Harley Quinn was alcohol, when she had gotten herself into a drunken stupor. It reminds me of an expression that we have in Norway called fylla har skylda, which basically means blame being drunk. It's used in any kind of situation where you screw up this to overpower her. But again, it's something that I can perfectly well buy in a Deadpool-like movie, that the hero's invincible, basically. But again, there's some limits to the disbelief. When the Joker had even removed the handguns. Oh, and we also learned that the Joker, he was really overrated. Harley was the brains behind him since day one.
Well, that was the one opening bit I can't believe they let drag on for so long. Outside of it, obviously, was going to be the overall message, and that was she's nothing without the Joker. And the only reason she's safe is because of the Joker. And of course, the point of the movie is for her to prove that she's much more than the Joker. I get that. I mean, I'm not blind to that aspect of the film. But, yeah, you're right. The Joker, he should have been the main villain, really. It should have been, if you really want it to be about her overpowering the Joker and moving it beyond and past him, I think it would have been a better, at least for the movie overall, it would have been better. I don't know. That's just my opinion. I don't know what you guys think.
No, I would have loved it if I'm not a huge fan of Jared Leto as the Joker, but I thought what I heard about a standalone Harley Quinn movie, R rating, I thought it was going to be about her and the Joker, and it was going to be really dark into their screwed up relationship, and it would explore that dynamic. I was excited for that because I don't know, I guess I'm a messed up person. That's interesting to me. But when I found out he wasn't even going to be in it, I was kind of like, okay, that's...
Well, when she goes, you're just like Mr. J at the end to him, I'm like, well, then why didn't you just have Mr. J? Sorry.
No, you're right. And well, with the comparisons to Deadpool, what I think is interesting is that Deadpool gets beaten up more than Harley Quinn does. Someone, so it doesn't make sense. I get that she needs to be strong, empowered, and all of that, but it's not an interesting movie when your main character is pretty much unkillable. No one can touch her. And it didn't make sense to me why she was so scared of being on her own when throughout the entire movie she's just kicking everyone's ass. It was weird to me.
Well, it's a thing now in modern Hollywood. You cannot show women as weak or vulnerable, or you can't show them as being having any flaws or being beaten up. I mean, Deadpool. I mean, he does have the mutant no, he's not a mutant, but he has the healing factor. So
he technically is.
Yeah, well, yeah, you could play a little bit more with that as a plot device. You know, remember the first movie when the hand was cut off and he was flipping Colossus the bird? I mean, that was amusing. But it is, you know, to show characters, and this is actually a good area for script doctor. One thing Stan Lee always said was you make the villain stronger than the hero, so much so that the hero has to overcome a dilemma. Oh my God, how am I gonna defeat this guy? And they have to rise to the occasion and be a hero. Unfortunately, in a lot of these movies, it's the same thing with Captain Marvel, and same thing with this one. And it's all over Star Trek Discovery, and we keep coming back to that because it's true. You cannot show a female character as anything other than strong and competent and without flaws. And that's boring because there's no character development. It's not an arc. It's a flat line.
To be fair...
Sorry,
go ahead, Rob.
I was going to say all Carol Danvers had to do in Captain Marvel was stand up because it's everybody else's fault. And again, we're seeing it here. It's Joker was keeping her down. It's Black Mass's fault. I mean, it's becoming too easy almost.
Well, and yeah. To be fair, though, I mean, at least Harley does have somewhat of an arc in this movie. I can't take her away from that. But you did mention Script Doctor, so I brought him in. So there you go.
Hello.
See that? Really? Well, I wonder what else I can get if I just ask for it.
Nothing.
Damn.
Well, what did you guys think of the R rating? Because that was something that when I was going in and I heard a lot of people say, oh, it's actually like a John Wick, the action scenes. I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. I like John Wick. And I'm perfectly fine with action films having an R rating, even superhero ones. But after seeing it, I was kind of left wondering, they didn't really, like, a lot of the things that made it an R rating could have been, like, there wasn't a ton of things that were making it an R rating, and I don't know why they chose to include that instead of just having the lower rating and being able to appeal, I think, to a lot more of the people who really like Harley Quinn, i.e. teenagers, especially teenage girls.
Yeah, I actually agree. Normally, I'm all for the R rating. Again, coming from someone not from America, but whose movies get ruined for the purpose of the PG-13 rating. This is one of the cases where I actually thought the R rating was gratuitous. Like, you didn't really need it. Because the only thing that really happened was that you had some legs break in really nasty ways, and all you achieved by it was making Harleen come across as unnecessarily sadist in a way. It's like what I took away from it. That, like, whoa, this is
not only that, just a lot of F words for no reason.
Yeah. Oh, that was perfectly fine. I don't mind that.
Well, I don't have a problem with that, but that's why I feel that's the only reason I feel like this got an R rating. I don't even think the violence did it. To be honest with you, I really don't.
Well, I don't know
about a lot of violence in a PG-13 movie nowadays, and still. Yeah.
Well, you made not a problem, but I was like, "Oh my word, that's such gratuitous."
Oh, go clutch your pearls, Rob. You don't like horror movies.
There was a face cutting scene. I don't know how exactly the ratings work, but I'm guessing face cutting is.
Well, there was a few bits, yes, but like you said, they could have been cut down, and the one was even off screen. It was just the one they really showed, from what I could tell. So
you're right.
Yeah, well, PG-13 is more of a soft R these days. I mean, really. Oh, the only thing. What is it, Tom? The only thing is the dropping the F-bomb. That's pretty
basically, I mean,
Yeah.
kind of like how South Park joked, you can show any gratuitous violence or nudity, just don't say any naughty words.
Yeah.
That's kind of true. I mean, they backed off on the nudity a bit, but oh yeah, the gratuitous violence. They did a study recently, a couple years back here, and I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but the amount of violence in a PG-13 movie compared to what it was years ago, and then compared to an R, is just astronomical. But here's the thing: you could show 20 people getting mowed down, but you can't show like one person getting a headshot. That's the difference. It's the nature of the violence sometimes too. You know what I mean?
Well, the other thing too, I think the only reason this got an R rating was because of Joker. Really, that's really the only. They saw.
I don't
Joker.
know when they decided that. I was thinking that though. I'm like, maybe when Joker came out was a big huge hit, they went back, did some reshoots to make it R. I could be wrong though.
Well, because Harley Quinn is so tied to the Joker as a character, I guess they figured, well, maybe we could. By they, I mean DC and Warner Bros. We could piggyback on top of the Joker's success. Play off some of that confusion. People associate Harley Quinn with. You do? Okay.
I disagree with that. I think it's all about Deadpool. That they wanted that Deadpool cash.
That could be too.
Our Deadpool. I really think that's the reason. Because you saw the whole movie was structured like Deadpool in the beginning, and I think that would have been there from the scripting stage, that this was going to be rated R. Script Doctor, what do you think about that?
Well, in my experience, I find the whole jury that determines the rating systems for films to be BS. Because there's no solid rules aside from if you say the F word more than once, you get an R. Like that's kind of like the only rule I know of that's absolute.
Well, as long as it's not in a sexual connotation, yeah.
Yeah. Because ratings are messed up. I do agree with Andre with regards to they wanting the Deadpool money, because again, they released this for a Valentine's Day weekend, essentially, which Deadpool was released when it first came out. So they're trying to copy that type of marketing formula. And never forget, a marketing department will never be original or creative with their own advertising. So that's clearly they just took another template to use onto Harley Quinn. And if you haven't seen it, it's a little bit outdated right now, but if you haven't seen it, I strongly recommend a documentary called This Film Is Not Yet Rated. It gives you some really deep insight into how the rating systems are done and how they're determined.
It will also give you an ulcer.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're frustrated.
It may be a little out of date now, but yeah.
It is, but like the principle's still true to a point. There's still new people that come in, they still make their own decisions. There's no actual handbook that I know of for a rating system. Every studio even has their own little notes that they've made, like this is how our movies have been rated in the past, so this is how we're able to circumvent certain things. But as far as I know, with regards to the MPAA, I have no idea what the rules are.
Yeah, the only one that's really I've questioned in the last few years that really boggled my mind was like the King's Speech, I think. I don't know if it was something personal behind the scenes or what, because other times it seems like they're more prejudiced against a type of movie than they are having any kind of standards across the board. Because like if you come across with a Friday the 13th movie, they'll give it an R rating no matter what, because it's a Friday the 13th movie. But now if you come in with another movie that's got Kevin Bacon in it, that now instead of back then when he was nobody, and he's like a killer and he's killing a bunch of teenagers, as long as there's no F words or nudity, they'll give that a PG-13, even if there was no F words and hardly or no nudity in the Friday the 13th movie. But because the other movie's a Friday the 13th movie and the other one's touted as a thriller suspense, even though they have the same damn plot almost, it doesn't matter. It's just because of the stigma attached to that, and Kevin Smith went back and forth with them for years with every single movie he's done, only because of words. He never shows any violence, never shows any nudity, but just because of words, he's had to fight to get an R rating out of it. It's crazy how they deal with them sometimes.
Yep. And nobody wants the dreaded NC-17.
That's the kiss of death.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Where I'm from in Quebec, and I don't think other places in Canada are like this. Everything is pretty much 13 plus. It's super rare to see an actual R. So like Birds of Prey was 13 plus where I was at, and actually there were still no teenage girls in attendance. So maybe that's not the only reason why they weren't going.
Well, that's funny you mentioned that. Great point, Lauren. I'm really happy that you mentioned that. Before we get into some statistics here, what did you expect, like based on the marketing? Because here, they're obviously going strong on the girl power. Lauren, I'm curious, did you find the movie appealing because of that? Or have you heard anything from your friends or something? Did someone say anything, oh, we have to see this, this is all girl power? Was that a plus or a negative?
Well, it's funny because the female friends that I have who are, my same age group, and I guess the people who DC was really banking on seeing this movie, they're not especially into superhero movies. So they like girl power movies, I guess. They were a really big fan of what's her name from Superbad, cute redhead.
Oh, Emma Stone.
Yeah, so it's like if Emma Stone has some like quirky comedy that's like girl powerish, yeah, they'd love to go see that. But when it comes to something like a Harley Quinn standalone R-rated action movie, not so much. Actually, the people I went to go see it with weren't females. I feel like they didn't have a clear demographic in mind. It's kind of like Charlie's Angels. They were trying to bank on an audience that, for the most part, doesn't really exist.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. I think that was a really good observation, because here they have tried to get more women into a genre that has always been male dominated, at least from an audience point of view. And I'm curious, how did that work out this time? Tom, do you have any statistics on that from the opening weekend?
We don't have a lot, because to get the statistics, it's really hard. But from this article, we can kind of deduce what was what. Of course, the name of the article is How the Birds of Prey Went Astray, with $33 million opening, Sunday final. Because the movie kept getting reduced in how much it was going to make. And in it, they were kind of pointing out how they left a lot of money on the table, or at least could have possibly left a lot of money on the table by making it R-rated. That's one of the main reasons they give for the movie flopping. I'm trying to find the actual statistic breakdown here. Let's see here. Men over 25 were at 3% of the audience, and guys overall were 53% of the audience. So that leaves, obviously, so that means that some more women did go see the movie over the weekend than what did originally for the opening. That's a pretty strong female demographic for a movie like this, I guess. But again, I don't know if that's really because that was just women going on dates with men per se, so much more than, I don't know if there was really a lot of women out there going to see the film, because that was one thing I did see in one report that they weren't seeing, was what they were expecting and hoping for is women in that 18 to 25 demographic tend to go see movies like this in what are called clusters, obviously. And they didn't see those clusters this weekend, is what the other report was saying.
Well, what works for the movie then is that more people went to see it than went to see Charlie's Angels, which was like another girl power movie in such sense. And as I like to point out, more women went to see Rambo Last Blood than to see Charlie's Angels. Although
just internalized misogyny.
I think more people went to see Rambo than this, didn't they? I can't remember the opening weekend. Well, maybe not. But this is pretty sad, considering how big of an opening weekend Suicide Squad had, how big Joker was, and this is coming off of that, how attached to Joker Harley is. I'm not saying people were confused in any way thinking this is a sequel to that, but I'm just saying the hype surrounding that. It feels a lot like Justice League all over again. I don't know about you, Andre, where we had Wonder Woman, was arguably the biggest hit at that point for Warner Brothers in their new DCEU, and this feels like Justice League dropping right after that. It's like, how could this have happened? Even there, at least, though, Wonder Woman was actually in Justice League. Joker's technically not in this movie, but I do see some parallels there. I don't know if you do or not. Lauren. Go ahead, Lauren, if you had something to say about it.
I was, this is only tangentially related, but I was reading something, and I forgot what it was from, but someone was sort of theorizing that if they had instead named the film Harley Quinn and the Birds of Prey, that perhaps it would have done better, because more people would have made the connection that, oh, this is the Harley Quinn movie, right? Because we're talking about how, Suicide Squad did make money. Like, it wasn't maybe critically successful, but it made quite a bit of money. But maybe there were just some people out there who didn't actually realize what this movie was. if they were not familiar with Birds of Prey.
Right. And we got this one guy in the chat saying we rooted for this movie to fail. No, I don't know about that. I don't know anybody who really rooted for it to fail. I just don't think anybody's interested in it. I think that's the biggest thing, and I think Rob brought it up earlier, is it's a movie that nobody asked for. Really, nobody really asked for this movie. The Suicide Squad was a mess. I mean,
to anyone accusing us of rooting for the movie to fail, go on, look how many videos we did about Birds of Prey. I dare you. Go look how much critical coverage it got. One, and that's because one of our own got the better part of cancel culture over it. That had very little to do with the movie itself.
Also, to be fair to you guys, you actually went to go see it, which I think is more than you can say for a lot of the woke people who are cheering for its success. Apparently, since not a lot of them actually went to see it. At least you guys saw it.
Yeah,
Lauren, we have a frequent contributor to our show on After Dark, Mecca Random, and she actually pointed out that the audience that this movie was made for, which they congregate usually over on a website called the Mary Sue, and one of them wrote an article. I don't even want to call it article because that it gives it a sort of a newsworthiness to it. One of them wrote a piece that said, "I'm a bad feminist because I haven't gone to see Captain Marvel." But I'm like, okay, well then shut your mouth.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, if you're not going to put up, then shut up.
well, and that was the other thing is just before we got into this, Andre, of course, told me to do a little bit of research, and that's what brought me to that article. And of course, I got to thank Matthew Kadish, one of the gentlemen we were just talking about, for helping me find that specific article. But otherwise, you type this into Google, and all you're going to get is just tons and tons of articles with headlines that are basically blaming men. And then I've seen one of the funniest things I ever saw on Twitter, and I can't bring it up because I don't want to get in trouble for bringing that person's thing up. But Hollywood Reporter posted the thing about how big of a flop the movie was, in so many words in the title, and somebody who just lost it in the Twitter feed was just like, "Stop posting articles like this. It's making it look bad," or something like that. I'm just like, so you want them not to report the truth just because it's hurting your fifis or what? I don't get it.
But see, it's stuff like that that makes me doubt any of these reviews that I see by these same people, because like they're admitting that they have a vested interest in this movie looking or doing well, or seeming that it did well, even if it actually didn't, just for political reasons. Because if this movie does well, then misogyny is over. Like, I don't really understand what the need for defensiveness is.
Well, part of it is to maintain what their access, and we've come up with a term for them, the access media. There was a man, actually, director Kyle Newman was his name, Tom?
It sounds familiar. I don't want to say yes, but I think so.
The guy directed Fanboys, and he pointed out that nobody in Hollywood liked The Last Jedi, and they were just saying they did to maintain their access. And imagine that part of it is a lot of that. But there's also this thing of they don't want to go against the narrative. We have to support this because girl power or whatever. And
I think the biggest problem is the movie has nothing to offer anybody, and the movie's not that great. It's not like bad, but it's not great.
It's not disastrously bad, but it doesn't really give you a reason to like it, as I always like to say.
Exactly. I don't think it did anything to bring anybody's butts into the seats, and that's what we kept seeing from everybody, was that they were in a theater full of no one.
Yeah. And speaking of reviews and things, I completely agree that it wasn't a terrible movie. It wasn't a disaster. But looking at things like the Rotten Tomatoes scores, and I'm not sure what the what it's at now. I haven't checked recently, but it doesn't make sense to me that people would, without any prejudice or bias, think that this Birds of Prey was legitimately a better movie than Joker, or that more people would be likely to say that Birds of Prey was a better movie than Joker. Like, comparing those two reviews, it just doesn't make sense.
The only ones who could possibly think that this was a better movie than the Joker would be the very people that try to tell all the audiences that if you go see the Joker, if you go see that horrible right-wing pro-incel thing, you'll end up shot. Those people would probably say that Birds of Prey is the better movie. That would not surprise me. But I honestly don't think that anyone else can say anything of the sort and have a shred of credibility afterwards. And that is actually one of the things that I think is really ironic with this movie, I want all of your thoughts on this, but especially Script Doctor, I want your thoughts on this. My theory, and this is just a theory I have, but I think that this movie right here, Birds of Prey, was greenlit to be the rebound movie after Joker. I think that Joker, from Warner's point of view, was a risk. Completely outside of the DC extended universe or whatever the hell they call it this week. And it was R-rated with like this loner weirdo Joker and all
It's
of
the
those.
DCAU now, the DC augmented universe.
Are you fucking kidding
No, I'm
me?
just making
that's
shit
what I
up.
mean. Okay. Well, it wouldn't surprise me if this was accurate. But anyway.
I know, right?
Anyway, so I think that from their point of view, that was a risk. And it was a risk they were willing to take because they had this one, the Suicide Squad follow-up, coming right on its heels. So that's why they could take the chance with the Joker, because this would come and make everything okay again. Reference the real Jared Leto Joker that no one likes, in case people didn't like the Joaquin Phoenix Joker. We all know what happened with that. And yeah, basically just in case Joker failed, this was what was going to save the day. That's my theory. Am I onto something, Script Doctor?
Short version, I don't think you're wrong. Oh, sorry, Script Doctor.
No. I mean, studios do kind of do this, not so methodically though. They usually say, oh, we'll have a couple of really big hits that we know we'll at least make a profit on, maybe marginal, but at least a profit on, and that will make up for some of the risks we want to take. That's standard in the studio system, from at least from my perspective of it. My understanding was that Joker was kind of greenlit and put into production after they were already working on the Harley Quinn film. There was a couple of things being shot around, the Batgirl, Gotham Sirens, and Birds of Prey. And I think the only thing that kind of really got it into production was Margot Robbie wanting to come in and reprise her role as Harley Quinn. And she got to pick which of those three stories that are being worked on that she would be involved with. And I think she enjoyed the Harley Quinn or the Birds of Prey concept more and wanted to go that route. I would not be surprised if they thought, say, in August and September, while they're wrapping up post-production on Birds of Prey, that they were thinking, yeah, Joker might cause a backlash, but luckily we got Birds of Prey, so we'll probably make up any losses there. I would not be surprised if someone mentioned that in the studio, but I don't think it was a full methodical intent. But good news is that the Joker is now making up for the losses of Birds of Prey, so I guess they got that.
Oh, the irony. Oh, the irony, I say.
Do you guys actually think that it's going to lose money? Birds of Prey, I mean.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to lose potential money, but I'm pretty sure they're going to make up their costs.
I don't know about that.
I don't think it's going to lose loads in the end. I think it's
not loads, but I think it'll be lucky to break even.
Yeah.
Well, the budget on this was $97 million.
And it's going to only make $33 million back this weekend, and then overseas it made a lot less than they anticipated too.
Yeah. I would say their DVD sales are going to barely help get them to the.
That's what I'm saying. You got to figure it's got to do 3 times its budget.
Yep.
Yeah, and that can be a tall order. So I don't know that it's going to lose money, but if it earns anything, it's going to be lucky to get.
It's DOA. It's not going to go. Do you really think this movie's going to make another $20-30 million next weekend? Fuck no.
No. Actually, theaters are probably going to push it out for something else earlier.
That's what I'm saying. So it's going to have a hard chance of making its money back. Is my point.
Well, that's what, after all the positive reviews were coming out, I saw people saying that they need to raise the the projected box office gross because it's going to do so well because everyone's loving it. But I mean, now that it's kind of out that it's not doing well, I think people will be even less likely to go see it than they were before. Because usually it's kind of like a Charlie's Angels 2.0, right? If no one else is going to go see it, it doesn't really inspire confidence because there's not really much out right now in theaters. So it's actually a case of people would rather watch no movie than watch your movie, which is not good.
Exactly. And this has shades of Charlie's Angels all over it.
Yeah.
And sadly,
That's
there
the
is a
thing.
way they could have actually guaranteed a better opening weekend. And excuse the toxic male in me, but if they advertised a little bit of sexuality, like some TNA, or suggested that there could be some nudity in this to better warrant an R rating, that would have got a lot more butts in the seats.
No, the only scene you get in this movie that's even remotely close to being what you consider a sexual scene is a half-ass rape scene where they almost kidnap and rape Harley Quinn, but it gets stopped by. No, I know. I'm not saying it's fun at all. I never even I never even started it with saying it was fun. I'm just saying this is the closest you get to it in this movie. Then you have Black Mask, who gets pissed off at a chick who's over in the corner of his bar, who's laughing at something else completely because he thinks she's laughing at him. And this is where it would, I just, this scene is just stupid. And he goes over there and he makes her get up on the table and makes the other guy strip her for him.
And it's actually interesting because in that scene, you see no nudity, right?
No, you don't. But that's the closest you get to it. That's my point.
But of all the things that can warrant an R rating, there's no nudity, no sexuality or anything like that, which is, I think it's part of the whole anti-male gaze thing that Margot Robbie was talking about in an interview.
There's money in the male gaze, though.
Yeah. I will say two things about first about that one particular scene with like the woman who was being forced to strip at least a little bit, like he cut the top of her dress. She didn't really take it off or anything.
No,
I don't have much sympathy because that was a club for criminals by criminals, and everyone there was criminal.
I get that, but the whole point of the scene was to make Black Mask a bigger bad guy than he already fucking was. It was
The dog moment, yeah.
Yeah,
it was pointless, and it was to make guys in the audience feel like shit.
Yeah, of course. Remind us all what pieces of shit we are.
Exactly what it was for, and that's why it was unnecessary. Because the movie was already full of enough guys to make you feel like shit.
Yeah. And one thing though about the script doctor, with you suggesting that the marketing should have had or suggested that there could be some TNA or something here, be careful what you wish for, because that's kind of what Matthew Cater said, and the internet put its wrath down on him, let's say.
Yeah, I remember. I remember catching that show. But just take a look at the original Charlie's Angels from the early 2000s. The hook of that thing was they were kind of showing off the bodies and the cool stunts that they were doing, but on the actual story aspect of it, these women were using those aspects about them to take advantage of their enemies, which was a clever way to do it. It wasn't. I mean, part of it was very gratuitous exploitation to a degree, but there was something extra behind it, at least at that time. And when I see the concept of like a Harley Quinn on the rebound type of film, I think like, well, why not just, take a look at some movies about women on the rebound and how they kind of bounce back, like a Stella Got Her Groove Back or something, and then find the twisted and comic way to do that for the Harley Quinn character. And if you stay to that formula, even though it might seem derivative in the concept area, if you stay to that formula and really like play around with it and experiment with where you can go, well, keep having fun, and that's the key point, having fun. You should be able to create a pretty good project, especially if I have enough people on the same page with that idea. But based on what I'm hearing from other people in my neighborhood, what I see online, from what you gentlemen and the lovely Lauren is speaking about, it's kind of like a hodgepodge mess of just man hate and just kind of, what do I want to say, screwball type storytelling.
And there is some good bits in it, don't get me wrong, but Shabazz Shaik, I'm probably screwing up this name, Shaika? I don't know how you say that.
Shaika, yeah, or Shabazz Shaik.
Okay, sorry about that. Why would guys feel like shit watching this movie? Well, here's the thing. Every single guy in this movie is a bad guy. And even the ones that are supportive of Harley turn out to betray her. So there's literally no redeeming men in this movie whatsoever. Then you have, what's his face? The police captain played by Stephen Williams. Isn't that his name?
Yeah.
They set him up to kind of almost be like the inside guy who's Black Mask's because they set up this thing like he straight out says, "Oh, you think that somebody's already infiltrated the police force and da 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 da." That goes nowhere. They don't even play with that again.
Oh, yeah.
They kind of set it up like he's the guy to do it, but instead they just make him an asshole in the movie through the end. And
just taking the credit of the hardworking woman.
Exactly. Yeah. Then at the end of the movie, he takes her credit. Yeah.
Well, this is actually, and we have Lauren here. Actually, it'd be interesting to her take on this. there was this whole thing about, oh, this movie is going to be less male gazy. Hollywood is becoming more and more freaked out by anything remotely sexual. And you see as not Matthew Cage, as Script Doctor pointed out, you know, Charlie's Angels, the 2002 version or whatever it was, it's all fuzzy now. They would use their sexuality and, you know, and their womanly guiles,
kind of like female James Bonds. Yes.
Yeah, exactly, like that. But we're getting into, it's becoming puritanical at this point.
Well, only the cowards are worried about the sexuality. Like, people who don't do anything stupid or creepy are fine. But yeah, it does say something when there are some people in higher positions that don't want to risk crossing a supposed line in the sand, as it were.
And I think it's strange to see that in this movie about Harley Quinn, especially when you compare it to how Harley Quinn was presented in Suicide Squad, right? Because in Suicide Squad, she's at the club with Joker. She's totally using her sexuality to get Joker's attention, to get his like rivals' attention and things like that. I mean, in one of the scenes, I think she's changing in the middle of when everyone's getting armed to go places, right? And like all the guys stop and look at her. So it kind of paints her as, and it makes sense for the character, one of the women who does use her sexuality to her advantage, right? When I think of Harley Quinn, I don't see a problem with like that being one of her characteristics, but she completely doesn't do that at all in this movie. I don't know. It just seemed like a pretty like 180-degree turn to be a more woke Harley Quinn, even if that's not in keeping with how she used to act, or how she, like you said, especially with the rebound, would probably act again.
Yeah, you make a great point, because her first introduction was Joker's Favor, the Batman the Animated Series episode, and she's kind of in her gown at that point, but she dresses up as a policewoman to present James Gordon with a cake. God, I haven't seen this episode in years. I'm able to remember it. Okay, and you know, she hits Bullock, who tries to hit on her. Like, she hits him with a nightstick, and like that's just like, you know, lay your hands off the goods type of stuff. And she sings a song. She kind of exploits the naivety that she presents for this party. And then what it ends up being is it's a type of gas that freezes everybody up. She helps Joker plant a bomb, and then they hightail it out of her. And that was what she did. And she's also in another one where, like, The Man Who Killed Batman, where she pretends to be an attorney, and she talks about how she filed a subpoena to Bullock one point, and that it was a small subpoena, like, you know, making a little phallic joke there. Like, that's the origins of Harley Quinn, where she is very confident in her personality and her sexuality, and she knows how to use it as a weapon as well as something to her advantage when not needing to exploit other people. And she's also got a strong head on her shoulders as well. I don't know if that was actually consistent with regards to Birds of Prey. The marketing didn't make it appear that way.
Not really.
I didn't really get a sense of that in Suicide Squad.
No, not really, because honestly, that was one of the big hangups I had in the movie, because even though it's probably one of the points of the movie that it should be there and should be probably expressed more, is you spend the first part of the movie, Harley and Joker break up, but she pretends they haven't, so nobody fucks with her. Like, that, she knows that's the only reason she's got any protection right now. So you set up this movie basically saying that she's nobody without the Joker. And I get that. That's part of the whole arc of her by the end of the film. And that's where I say it should have been the Joker as the bad guy, because it makes it more poignant and important. But that's kind of lost here and there along the way till the very end of the movie again, because she just gets wrapped up in this whole diamond thing that the movie kind of wraps itself around. And there's points in this movie where it could have been good, but you spend too much time hopping back and forth, and she tells the story in this awkward Deadpool way. And that's where I agree with Andre that, yeah, this movie was heavily influenced by Deadpool.
What did you guys think of the attempt at the A chronological storytelling? Like, do you think that was good, or did it make it just more confusing unnecessarily?
It just felt like a Deadpool ripoff to me. Like, the whole way it kind of came across, it made the movie longer than it needed to be necessarily too, because a lot of that first 45 minutes to an hour could have been wrapped up in like 20.
I loved it. That was my favorite part of the movie, was just that. And that's what I think is so frustrating here. This movie, it could and should have been like Deadpool, and they really tried. And what really prevented them, in my opinion, was like this political thing that you have to go so incredibly woke, meaning it has to be so misandrist and so over the top misandrist. Well, there wasn't even over the top. It would have been better if it did. that you could like laugh at it. Here they were like completely genuine in trying to say all men are bad. Every single man is shit. Apart from this one dude, this hitman, but he was a hitman, so he was a shit.
We forgot the egg sandwich guy. He was not bad to her either.
Oh yeah,
Was there any
Armenian
love
arm hair
story in
guy.
this?
Yeah, exactly. And there, she still had to like make fun of his appearance because of his hairy arms, and for his penchant for using out-of-date food.
Well, one
So-
thing that Deadpool has that I haven't heard anyone mention about with regards to Birds of Prey is that Deadpool, for all its foul language and violence and actiony stuff, it does have a love story at its core. So, is there anything like that in this Birds of
No.
Prey? Is there
No.
Okay, so
Nothing.
you're missing a really good thing because
The closest
best
thing you
movies are love
get is
stories.
Martinez, played by Rosie Perez. She used to date she had a lesbian relationship with the assistant DA. That's it. That's the closest you get.
There's, I mean, it's not a love story, but in terms of like a relationship that maybe makes Harley Quinn seem more sympathetic, she does have that kind of almost mentorship relationship with that little girl.
Yes, that's the one part that was done better than Deadpool. Is her and the little girl bit that was handled much better than it was in Deadpool. Sorry.
Yeah, like that's what I mean, that there are so many wasted opportunities here. And again, I'm not going to go and say that every movie needs a romance subplot. There's absolutely no need for it here. Let's just go with the premise that she's broken up with the Joker. This movie does then not have to be about her finding another man. There's really no need for that.
I was thinking about just someone loving herself, learning to love herself or what have you, because one of the funny things, a director that's also kind of an inspiration to me is Richard Donner, and he says every story he does is in some way has to be a love story. Even his Lethal Weapon movies, he considers more of a love story than a cop thing. It's a love between the friendship of these two guys, Riggs and Murtaugh. Superman, that original movie that he did, is very much a love story. It's a love for parents, between parents and children, between Clark and Lois, and between himself and his embracement of Earth and what he likes to do. So even when you want to make like an action-driven story, you still want to have a type of passion behind it, not just to be gratuitous action and whatever. You want to have that extra thing, and a love story is an easy way to do that, whether it's a very black and white man and woman type of thing, or if it's something where between a father and son, daughter and mother, any of that type of stuff, that helps draw in a broader audience and also gives something a little bit extra depth, even in a cheating type of way.
Great example, actually, I used from just this past year, Ford versus Ferrari. I mean, you had two guys who are passionate about racing and they want to do anything to win, and then you also had the relationship between Christian Bale, Ken Miles, and his son.
There you go.
A great example of a very well written movie with a very well written subplot. And you see that Ken Miles would do anything to provide for his family, which is why he takes a job with Ford testing the GT40, very risky back in the day.
Now, Darius, I don't know if you saw the movie or not. He says not broken up with Escape the Joker. No, they were broke up. She tried to get back in.
Yeah, it looks like he broke up with her and she didn't want it from the opening
Exactly.
scene.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that was the thing, is they should have flipped it the other way around. It should have been her escaping her. It should have been more empowering for her, and then it probably would have been a little bit better. I mean, that's just my opinion on that, but still.
Yeah. So they couldn't even get that right. Instead, it was all about the Joker was trying to steal credit from her and decided, I don't need this woman anymore. And after that, we'll never hear from the Joker in the DC extended, augmented, whatever the hell it's called, universe again. So
It's just called DC.
Huntress's backstory is like an afterthought in the movie. I don't even think they even really got into much of her backstory until about halfway through, if I remember right. They really don't tell you.
Oh, really?
much.
She has a great backstory.
A lot of
They
the
don't give a
reviews I
shit.
saw say that it should have really been about Huntress's story. It's more interesting than Harley Quinn's, but she doesn't have the, I guess, recognition that Harley Quinn does.
It's funny, though. I have to mention about the Huntress, because I know that usually you're supposed to be able to separate the actors and the actresses and their private lives and everything from whatever is happening on screen. But still, I couldn't help with, like, in this movie that is supposed to have like this strong feminist message, who do they manage to put into it? First, they have Ewan McGregor, who dumped his wife and 3 kids. And who did he dump his wife and 3 kids for? The actress playing the huntress. That's just like, I know it's not supposed to be anything that matters for the movie, but it's something that I was like, it kind of took me out of it a little bit. I don't know if they're together still, if he went back with his wife or what.
I think they are still together, like him and that actress.
Mary Elizabeth Winstead?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
So she left her husband for him too, huh? I'm not fully in the news of actors.
I guess the
I
lesson
don't know
is
if she
don't
did,
look
but
up to Hollywood for moral standards. It's probably not where you should be
Yeah,
learning. We should be taking
probably
our
not.
family values from.
Well, this is not like it's anything new. Meg Ryan did the same shit 20 years ago. Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie did the same shit 10 years ago.
That happens. Yeah, it happens all the time. But like, still, this is like a movie that has like this social message at its core.
Usually, when this happens, though, the movie ends up flopping. Look at like the statistics outside of Mr. Smith and Mr. and Mrs. Smith. I think is the only movie where this kind of stuff has happened in the background where it didn't flop the movie in the end. I mean, look at like what happened to like Jersey Girl and Geely, especially because of the Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez stuff, for Christ's sakes.
Oh, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, that's where Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie met, and that's when
That's
Brad
what I'm
Pitt
saying.
loved
That's the
Jennifer
only
Aniston.
one of these
Yeah.
movies that I can think of that has not been affected by the negative. Because I can't even remember the name of the movie that Meg Ryan and what's his face did when that whole thing went down. I can't even remember the movie now.
Wasn't
That's
Inner
all-
Space, was it? Or after Inner Space?
No, it was way later than that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is basically when she ended her career by doing
Oh.
this. I can't.
Either way, it doesn't really matter one way or the other. It's just like something that I thought was interesting. That and that they have the sister of Juicy Smoulier with everything that comes with that. in the
Yeah.
movie
Oh,
as
it's
well.
actually his sister. I saw people
Yes.
saying that on social media. I thought they were just making a joke because of the last day.
No,
but
it's actually his sister. She's the one
Oh.
that stands behind him completely, saying that.
And
Yes,
honestly,
no,
she's probably one of the weakest of the cast.
I enjoyed her, but
I didn't think she was that strong in the cast. That's just my personal.
I was probably just looking for eye candy because I mean, no offense to like the Mary Elizabeth Winstead. I liked her in other things, but it was just I don't know who did the like costuming or the hair and makeup, but it was rough in this movie.
They
I don't
made
mean
her
to sound
butch looking.
sexist, but it was At least Black Canary looked a little bit feminine.
Well, that part, I'm not even commenting on that. I'm just saying as far as the cast
Her
goes.
performance, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, actually, because I'd even say the little girl had a stronger performance than she did, and she hardly had any lines. I mean, she
Sandra
had
Kane's
what,
supposed
10
to be
lines?
mute anyways, if I'm familiar.
No, well, she talks in the movie, but she only has like 10 lines.
Well, I'm actually kind of concerned right now because Christina Hodgins, who wrote this movie, who also wrote Bumblebee and a couple of horror films, which weren't really rated well, except a lot of people I understand loved Bumblebee. She's in line to do The Flash and The Batgirl.
The story's not necessarily bad. It's just
Yeah.
really poorly handled.
Here's the thing, though. I'm not going to place any blame on the writer for this. If
Oh,
anything,
good.
I
Okay.
think that the writer did really good here. I think that what we're seeing here with like this anti-male thing, that I think is directives from higher up. Because if you haven't seen Bumblebee, I have. Bumblebee is fantastic, and the heart of that movie is it isn't Bumblebee. He's just there in the backdrop. Really, what the movie is about is a teenage girl who is trying to get over the death of her father, and she was really, really close with her father. He was a great father to her, and she absolutely adored him. And then he died at a very young age from a heart attack.
Love
And
story
that
right there.
is yeah, exactly. And that is what Bumblebee is at the core about. And then you have like robots in the background. But at the core, that's the heart of the movie. It's this teenage girl getting over the loss of the father that she loved dying early. That's the heart of the movie. And when I saw that movie, I absolutely loved it. And it just goes to show that I forgot the name of the writer already, but she nailed it. And I said that in my review at the time. This writer is going places.
Christina
So-
Hodgins, yeah.
Christina Hodgson, yeah. So I do not hold anything in this movie against her. I think that she got her directives from higher up, that this movie has to have this, and this. What I will credit her for is all the cool Deadpool stuff in it, which actually worked. I think that is very much due to her, with like the structure, with the flashbacks, everything. That's the writer. She nailed
yeah,
it.
if you take a look at the narrative structure, that's definitely going to be more writer than director, because the director can play around with how that's presented, but like if it hits the beats at the timing and all that stuff, that's writing, and then with the significant help from editing. So I mean, so if anything, you're saying that this movie could possibly have some entertaining factors that were still survived by all the notes that was most likely done through Margot Robbie's thing and the directors, which is, it's good because I've seen the other two movies that she wrote. They weren't to my liking. That's just me, but I've heard lots of positive things about Bumblebee, which I haven't seen yet. So, I mean, I'm probably going to have to go see it now after that.
You won't regret it. It's really good.
My problem with this is we've already seen this Deadpool narrative too many times. 2 movies from Deadpool as it is, and however many ripoffs already. So it's like, I hate we're getting in the middle of an action scene, and wait a minute, let me back up and tell you how this actually started. I get sick of that after a while. Sometimes I just want to see a straight story. I mean, and if you're really going to get in her head, then get in her head. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to ask, in terms of writing, did you guys find the dialogue good? Because I have to admit, it made me chuckle a couple times. I thought this movie was kind of funny. It did made me laugh. I mean,
there was a few bits.
Character development was, I don't know whose decision that was, but I did like the dialogue better than I thought I would.
The biggest
I
laugh
thought it was great.
The biggest laugh I got is when she goes to the little girl. She goes, "There's only 2 ways we're going to get that out of you." And she holds up the knife and the laxative. And then when she took that extra stab at Victor Saz after everybody busted it on her, that was about the only 2 times I really remember laughing. But
really, because I can think of a third way to get that out of her.
I did I get the best ideas when I'm drunk. That was kind of funny, too.
That's a writer's thing right there. That is totally a writer's line.
Yeah. I thought that the dialogue and everything here was great, and that through the dialogue came all of these hints at what could have been there, what could have been so good in it. What I thought was actually the strongest relationship in the movie. It just occurred to me right now, because the focus is obviously on Harley Quinn and this little thieving chick that is now going to be a really big thieving chick when Harley Quinn prints her. But I made that word up right now. I hope it exists. But anyway, I thought that the most interesting relationship in the movie.
I think the word you were looking for is mentors, but yeah.
Thank you. That's one. Yeah. Although I think the one I just used works as well. Forgotten to
it does.
But anyway,
and this is coming from somebody who makes up words all the time. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, the relationship that I thought was the most interesting in the entire movie, and this was told all the way through dialogue, and that I want to see a spin-off movie just about that, and that's Ewan McGregor's character, Black Mask, and his psycho face cutting off hitman, Sus, or whatever his name was.
Victor
Saz. Yeah, they were really tight and close. And Sas even said at one point that he needs me to look after him. That, I thought, spoke volumes about their relationship. There was depth. That one line had more depth than anything else in the entire movie. That, I thought, warranted further exploration. There is a prequel that I would like to see. Like, are they gay? Is there some sexual chemistry going on there? Is it just like loyalty, whatever? I don't know. But anyway, that right there, I thought was the most interesting thing and worthy of further exploration. And that goes back to your point, Lauren. So yes, I thought the dialogue was fantastic. And for that, I credit Christina Hodson, the writer.
Oh, see, now I'm glad I'm going to be going to see this movie tomorrow as a matinee. So at least I have something to hold on to if I don't like other parts.
I do think they were gay, and I think it was cut out, Andre. I think that's why he was shaking when he said that line.
Yeah, I heard people accuse them of queer baiting, because I had, before it was released, saw that, Black Mask was gay, and I forget the other characters, and they were together. But then after I walked out of the theater, I kind of thought, wait, but was there anything to actually back that up in the film? And I don't think there was. I think the film itself leaves it ambiguous.
I don't think it'd be a good image to have gays being gay men.
I was going to say, I think that's what happened. I think in the original cut they were, and then it tested badly, and they were trying to say, "Oh, you're trying to make the gay guys the villains," and so they cut it all out. Is what I think. Because like they have a really close relationship, like Andre's saying, and when he says that line, he's like shaking and stuff. So you can tell it's almost like I love him kind of a thing, not so much I'm just protecting him because he's my friend kind of thing.
Yeah, anyway, I agree completely that there probably are many scenes on the cutting room floor, which I think is a shame, because I think that relationship, gay or not, would have elevated the movie.
I didn't like that version of Victor Says. I didn't care for him.
To be clear, though, I have no idea who the hell Victor Sass
He's
is.
He's been in a few Batman things and other things. He's like a underworld character in Gotham usually.
Could be. My point is that I have absolutely no clue who the character is. I'm very weak on my DC.
Yeah, Michael Villa just says right here, Gotham probably had one of the best representations to this point of Zaz.
Well, I found Zace to be too gun heavy in Gotham, but yeah, I can side on that.
Oh, he's just as gun heavy here. Yeah.
Oh, he's a knife guy.
Gotham, would this be the series that I saw one episode of and then wondered why the hell should I waste time on this and never saw another? Yeah,
it was good for a little bit and then it went to shit. Yeah.
Yeah, Bruno Heller's not the best person to be handling any sort of comic book adaptation, in my opinion.
You got like a really good Penguin, and you had like Victor was really well handled, and
Riddler was okay.
They did Hugo Strange okay, I thought. I'm not as familiar with.
I like BD Wong a lot, so
so I mean they did okay with that, I thought, and then just went off the rails when they kept getting with the Joker bullshit.
They're trying to push the boundaries as far as they could without having the police be completely helpless, which is really hard to do when you're trying to do a story of that type. Because if the police can stop these great big villains, then what's the point of Batman when he shows up if the police can already take care of it? So like that's the biggest problem you have when you try to do a prequel to a Batman Gotham City show.
Yeah, well, not only that, I was just sick of my superhero shows not having a superhero in them. But anyway, Jake.
Oh, there's that too.
Jake Knight said something here I think Andre wanted to address.
Yeah, no, I just thought it was a fun comment that Jake Knight said that it was like a reference to Juicy Smollier, as I like to call him. That is what he should change his name to forever. I don't care how you're supposed to say it. To me, he'll always be
He's a
Juicy
French actor.
Smollier.
And he's a Frenchman. Yeah, makes all them French movies.
Yep.
Juicy Smollier.
That was so fantastic. It made my year almost. Yeah. No, I just thought it was like a really astute comment. I would not be surprised if if that actually was a reference to that. Now it can't be. It doesn't work with the timing and shooting, so it's probably just a coincidence.
No, it was probably shot way before. She probably would have been like, "No, can we shoot this in a different place?"
Well, too late for that, I guess. Anyway, Lauren. Anything else about the movie that stood out to you, one way or the other?
Well, what I'm kind of wondering now, having seen it, and I've tried to look online to see if there were any interviews or other articles that could give me a clue, is what's going to happen with Harley Quinn and the whole Joker storyline in the future, right? Because the way this has ended, it's kind of like she's done with him forever. So are they just never bringing in the universe that she's in? Will the Joker never make a reappearance? Because I know they're rebooting soft reboot, like Suicide Squad is going to be coming out. She's going to be coming back as Harley Quinn. We don't know if Jared Leto is coming back as the Joker, so I'm just kind of confused right now as to what's happening. I think that
door is kind of closed permanently, from what I've heard. Yeah, I've heard the same thing you just said, and that was that everything's kind of in a soft reboot phase. Yeah. And I think the way this ended was supposed to be a way of sending Margot Robbie off on her own little set of movies that probably won't happen now after this.
I mean, they call them sequel adjacents.
Yeah, they might give her one more shot, but I doubt it. And again, it might depend on how Suicide Squad goes. They might bring her back into Suicide Squad 3 just to, bring up her value in the company again. But I mean, does this mean this is like the end of her career or anything? No, I'm not saying that at all. But am I saying this is the last Harley Quinn movie? Possibly, because I just don't think this is going to make any money. At least it's gonna get rebooted at some point in some other way. Because all this thing is all soft reboots. Wonder Woman 84 is supposed to be a soft reboot. Aquaman itself was kind of a soft reboot. Shazam is kind of its own thing, etc. So
Yeah, they're really reeling, aren't they? And I think that this movie underperforming is just one more nail in the coffin of what we used to call the DCEU. That they're gonna shift more and more into something else entirely. That a couple of movies down the line, this will all be gone, is what I'm thinking. I don't think
Yeah.
that there's going to be a new Joker in this iteration of the DC universe. I think it's
Oh,
just
hell
going to
no.
end very, very soon. You saw that right here. He didn't even appear. They're phasing him out because Jared Leto's Joker just didn't work. And after we get the new Batman, I think a lot is going to depend on how the new Batman movie is received. I know that's supposed to be a soft reboot, but I think that soft reboot can be a hard reboot before we know it.
It almost looks like it's becoming more and more of a hard reboot every time
Yeah.
we hear more and more about it.
Yeah, I think it's a hard reboot, really. I think that they say that it's a soft reboot right now, but you know what? They also said something similar about Man of Steel 2, because
You know how I know
originally-
it's not a soft reboot? Because they're not young casting any of these actors. None of them are. I mean, one of the most obvious would be Gordon, but I mean, come on, the rest of them, none of them are obviously young versions of the Ben Affleck Batman, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So yeah, I believe that this is just like a marketing game. They're playing with us. They don't want to say right now that it's a hard reboot, kind of like they didn't want to say that Batman v Superman wasn't really Man of Steel 2, because when that first was announced, it was first billed as this is still Superman 2, but it has like a guest appearance by Batman. He's just going to be in the movie for like 15 minutes. And those 15 minutes got more and more. That was going to be shifted. And by the time the movie opened, it was really a Batman movie, guest starring Superman. Of course, that was the plan all along, but they didn't say that right away.
They introduced it as Superman v Batman first, and then they flipped the names around.
Exactly, and I think this is the same thing here. That after the Suicide Squad, unless the Suicide Squad, the movie by James Gunn, if that does miracles, then maybe that's gonna warrant a few more spin-offs on it.
That's what I was saying. Yeah.
But
Like,
other
and then
than
they
that,
might try to cram Harley in there at some point, because they are having Boomerang and a few other characters come up. And that was what I was wondering, if that was why they had his wanted poster up at the office too, at the cop shop.
I think James Gunn even made mention that he spoke with Margot Robbie about Harley Quinn for the Suicide Squad, but I haven't heard any details beyond that.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. But anyway, I think that this whole iteration of the DC EU in a couple of years will be gone, and we'll never see another Joker in it. We'll get another Joker, but not in this continuity, which I think is going to be washed out and then just disappear. Script Doctor, what do you think about that?
Well, I do think this kind of echo of Zack Snyder's interpretation of the DC properties is definitely going to fade away. Wonder Woman might be the only franchise that'll hang on out of it or survive that. But I do think that this will be buried, and it will be buried by the corpses of JJ's eventual approach to the DC properties. And then from there, there'll be another reboot most likely. I have high hopes for the Batman. I'm hoping it's going to be a fun and good movie, but I do have my reservations. I did enjoy Matt Reeves' Planet of the Apes stuff, but I mean, it wasn't the type of Planet of the Apes that I liked, but he did make it work for what he was doing. So I hope he can do that for the Batman as well. But it's definitely going to be its own thing. I don't believe that Warner Brothers is going to be able to successfully pull off their version of an MCU. Not under this regime, and not for at least a minimum of 10 years.
Yeah, that's well, I don't know about 10 years, but
it'll take them that long to wash the bad taste of JJ out of their mouth.
Well, and as Lukavi Wyfalk, I'm sure I screwed that up too, points out, DC is rebooting all their media, the comics, DCEU, and TV shows, maybe games too, from what I've heard. Most of that's true from what I've heard too. Yeah, they're doing like this weird thing in the comics where they did an instant age up of a lot of the characters and all this other business. And I don't know what's going on with the CW shows anymore, because I fell out because I just didn't have the time, to watch 20 shows to keep up with everything. And it also just kind of turned into, Superman
I've only heard that they're
90210
kind
or
of
whatever, but
I know that they're supposed to be wrapping up 2 more of their shows within the next 3 years, and because I think Arrow's done, Legends of Tomorrow is done this season, and I think The Flash has only got maybe 2 seasons left, and then Supergirl's got 2 seasons, and then it's going to be mostly focused on, I think, Black Lightning, Batwoman, Superman and Lois, and Stargirl, I think, are the only ones, and that's supposed to be the new generation of their television, from my understanding.
Speaking of a new generation, Lauren, I'm curious, after watching this, are you excited for the future of DC on film? Is there anything there you know is coming that you're looking forward to? Or, yeah, what do you think?
I mean, anytime I go watch a DC film, I always kind of expect the worst. They just they're hit and miss for me. But I mean, I like James Gunn a lot, so I'm definitely going to see the Suicide Squad. I mean, I end up seeing all of them, but I think with DC, there are so many iterations right now and talks of soft reboots and hard reboots. It just seems like there's no cohesion. So I think like Script Doctor's right. They're trying to do something like the MCU, but it's just not working. So I don't think I'll ever be as excited for a DC film as I was for example, Avengers Endgame or something like that, just because anytime the characters do interact with each other, it's even worse than their like standalone films, which are touch and go at best. So yeah.
I've heard exactly what you said summed up another way, which I thought was pretty on point. Someone once said that every time I go see a Marvel movie, I wonder, is this gonna be the bad one? Every time I see a DC movie, I wonder, is this gonna be the good one?
all right. Well, what did I
Yeah.
say just before I went to go see this stupid thing, Andre? I said I've been burnt so many times by DC. I don't know if I want to go.
Yeah.
The Joker's
Battered
a
wife
fluke.
syndrome.
Somebody said it in the chat earlier, and I put it on the screen. I can't remember who said it, and I apologize, but they said, yeah, thing is the only time DC makes a good movie is on accident.
Yeah. And it's sad too because I like the Joker as a character, so kind of hearing that he's probably not going to come back. Not that, I mean, Jared Leto's version was good or anything, but to kind of see him completely scrubbed from things like the Suicide Squad, it's kind of disappointing.
As I said in my video, though, that was never going to happen for 2 reasons. One, Warner weren't happy with how that Joker was received. He wasn't happy with Warner's lack of support, certainly for them greenlighting another Joker movie that wasn't with him, because he felt like doubly snubbed. Because one thing is that he was promised a solo Joker movie that never happened, but also this movie right here, Margot Robbie apparently was the one that made the decision to make this Birds of Prey. But that was one of 3 different options. Another of those 3 was a Joker and Harley Quinn movie, and that also didn't happen, which I'm sure that Jared Leto was pissed about as well.
Well,
Would you
perhaps
guys
if Jared
have
Leto didn't
preferred-
send dirty condoms to his castmates on set and cause a whole bunch of other stuff,
And
which
dead
I was
animals,
unfortunately
yeah.
witness to one of them.
Oh, do share.
It was the dog poop stuff.
Oh.
The bags of dog poop and that said like cast lunch on it and stuff. It was not professional. I don't care how method you want to be. There is a line, and he crossed it way too often. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Human Resources had a nightmare on that, because I mean I had to sign a little letter saying yes, I was present when this was received, and that was the last I heard of it. But I think that behavior was the final nail in the coffin, to use your term, for Jared Leto ever coming back to that role. It wasn't just the audience reception; it was also that behavior. Because sometimes an actor's behavior will kill a role before an audience cares about it.
Yeah, and I think that sending condoms with various juices inside and out is not going to win anyone any popularity contests. So.
Ew.
Yeah.
Well, what's funny is they tried to play it off in the publicity of it all. And then, of course, we heard several stories afterwards that Jared was all upset about the other Joker movie. And then he said some things publicly that I think kind of pissed off everybody at Warner, and it just kind of went in this really bad direction for him.
What I thought was so funny after all of those headlines came out about, because I felt like they were trying to use it as marketing, like, look how method he's going. This is going to be so deep. And then actually seeing his performance, like, really, you needed to send people condoms to achieve that? Like, are you serious?
Yeah. Heath Ledger had a journal. That's all he needed. Like,
if it was just a matter of sending condoms, that would be like one thing. That would be like bad enough. But these were used condoms to make it even worse.
Supposedly, we don't know 100%. I hope to God they weren't.
Well, there's method acting, and then there's method acting.
Yeah, even Jack Nicholson, when he was playing around with the Joker, he didn't go that far. He was just telling, like, dirty limerick jokes and trying to make them creepy and scary for the cast and crew.
No, he was just protective of the character.
He is also very protective of the character, and I still enjoy the hell out of his performance, especially if you catch him in the street and you ask him to do the Joker laugh, he'll do it, and that's cool for Jack.
I guess
he had. Sorry, I was gonna say, I guess he even had final say on anything that came out of the Joker from that movie, to the point where he's the reason we didn't have an arcade game. Because he kept saying no to it 3 times, even though he did the line specifically for the video game. He didn't like the likeness. They had to keep going back and fixing it until he said it was okay. By the time the game came out, nobody cared.
Is that for the Nintendo arcade game?
No, for the actual arcade game that never got ported over to anything else because it was such a hassle behind the scenes, and I guess Sunsoft owned it, and they're a pain in the ass to get the rights. It was a long story.
Oh, okay. Because I know the Nintendo game, they got the likeness pretty good.
Between all the merchandising, the T-shirts, he had to check off on all of it, I guess, and that's one of the reasons why there was such a hard time getting some of the Joker stuff to the market in that 89-90 period.
Oh, man. I actually have on my desk the Jack Nicholson Joker from 1989, like just with the big mouth and the squirt gun device on the back. Yeah.
But anyway, we went on a tangent there. Sorry about that. Lauren, you asked us a question. What was it again?
Would you guys, going back in time, have preferred a Joker Harley Quinn movie, even if that Joker was Jared Leto, over Birds of Prey, knowing what Birds of Prey ended up being?
My quickest answer to that is possibly, because if they were to turn around and make Jared Leto's Joker Jason Todd, then I wouldn't have a problem with the character. And Andre, you said yes.
Yeah, for the exact same reason. All they have to do, it would be so easy. Just like make him Jason Todd, and you fix the Joker. Simple as that. Then we can still like pretend that the Joaquin Phoenix Joker, which is the really, really good Joker, that he is still like granddaddy Joker. We can still pretend that. That would fix everything. Of course, now that's all lost. So I think that if you still have Sue Hodges, because she did good. My issues with the movie are not with her. If she still wrote this, I think it would be very, very cool to have a Joker and Harley Quinn movie. Probably better. And then you could even get into the physical and mental abuse aspects of the relationship between them. Then you could have a story about getting out of a really toxic relationship. Like, how awesome would that not be?
That would be really cool. And that would have earned an R rating. Like, thematically, it would have made sense.
And that's what I said earlier with that one comment. I said, no, it would have made more sense if this movie was about her escaping the Joker, not her getting the boot. And that's really what the whole first 10 minutes of the movie is about.
And if it could be darkly funny, because that's the other part that would actually really sell, is you want to be able to laugh, but also feel uncomfortable that you're laughing at it because of the context of it. Because that's what is appealing to Harley's struggle, sadly, is that it's this very toxic, terrible, obsessive relationship that both of them have for each other in very selfish ways. Like, Harley's in love with Joker for a little bit of pity and a little bit of idolization, and Joker loves Harley because of what she can do for him and how he can use and manipulate her to get whatever he wants. And it's fleeting to a point, which makes it even more dangerous. So I'm very much in agreement, and even the gears are turning in my head. Is like, how would I tell a story like that? Like, what would I do first? Would I have her kick Harley out first, and Harley comes crawling back, and then only then at the mid-act point does she try to flee away, and that's where your climax and conflict come from, and that's how you get that emancipation aspect out of the way, especially with bringing in, like, say, one of the superheroes, and I would say Batgirl would probably be the better one to do that with.
Oh, they ignore the abuse shit again, just like they did in Suicide Squad, even more so than they did in Suicide Squad.
Yeah, even more so, even more so. So yeah, I think that was a great waste of opportunity, and I don't know who was the one who made the decision. According to Margot Robbie, it was Margot Robbie who made it. I think that she made a bad call, and my guess
Actors shouldn't
is
be
that
doing those types of decisions, in my
Well,
opinion.
and that
No, I
whole
agree
storyline's
completely.
wrapped up in one line when she says to Black Mask, "Everybody's scared of Mr. J when I'm the one everybody should really be scared of."
Yeah.
That's the whole point she's trying to get across there, but it's lost in the whole entire. That would have been so much more poignant had this really been the emancipation of Harley Quinn.
Does she do anything psychological in Birds of Prey?
Not really.
She was a
No.
psychologist, so she should.
She brings it
understand
up
things
like
that-
twice.
Yeah, she does
Yeah.
like this cheesy kind of like I'm going to psychoanalyze you in 2 seconds kind of thing as you're interrogating me, but she doesn't do anything like darkly twisted with it, or it's not a huge plot point.
So she tells us it, but she doesn't show it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that last super chat, and we will get to super chats here, but this is one problem I did have with Suicide Squad, and I know a lot of people did. The Termite 30 hated how they glossed over the abuse in Suicide Squad, and I said, yeah, that's the problem, is you have all these Hot Topic crowd kids now thinking that Harley and Joker have like a Twilight romance, when no, it's not. It's a very, 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 very unhealthy and abusive relationship.
Like a Twilight romance.
She's a true, yeah, well, not only that, but she's a true victim in the sense that he has, the only reason she's alive to this point is just because she happened to survive everything. That's about it. She's a survivor at this point because Mr. J has tried to kill her. He's put her through several tests, you know, even the fact of if you really love me, you'll jump in this fucking vat of chemicals for me kind of thing. The chances of her surviving were what? You know, I mean, you don't care. He doesn't really care about her, and that's the thing, is all she wants out of him is just that little bit of love that she never got from any man in her life. And that's really the sad tragedy of the whole story.
Mm-hmm. And that's what I mean. There were some feminists, like I was reading some Mary's like stuff on, was it the Daily Beast, criticizing the way that Suicide Squad did portray their relationship, even though it wasn't really that in depth in it. I think they kind of mistook the fact that they were portraying abuse as condoning abuse, but I mean, that's another conversation. So a lot of people were not fans of Harley Quinn from Suicide Squad, and it was strange to me how kind of with Harley, the Birds of Prey movie, they sort of switched and all of a sudden she's this woke feminist hero, even though they hated her in Suicide Squad. I don't know. I'm not sure exactly when that changed for people. But looking back in 2016, a lot of these same people who are championing Birds of Prey were not fans of Suicide Squad.
Well, they even missed the moment when she brings up the point of what Harlequin really means. You know, and
Media
it's like,
dell'arte.
oh yeah, she's like, it just means you're a slave, basically, in so many words, without getting to the whole thing, to paraphrase. And it's like, okay, so why didn't you make this whole movie about her, like you said, Script Doctor, have her get kicked out, fine, but then have her go back midway through and then realize, wait a minute, this is wrong. And then it'd be about her escape. And then, you know, you could have the other plot going on at the same time. But that's the thing, is taking Joker out of the equation really just, it takes all the weight out of the story, period. It was the same problem with Suicide Squad. He should have been the villain there as he should have been the villain here. That's the thing. It's like you have the best villain. You can talk about him all you want. You can talk about Darth Vader, but you have to show him eventually. You know what I mean? You can't just sit there and talk about the villain and talk about the villain and talk about him and not show. You know, we talked
It's
about
getting
the
to the
Empire.
fireworks factory. Yeah.
Yeah, you get to the Emperor at the third film, you know, but at least we get to see him here and there. He's looming, you know, but it would be like if they never even like talked about him this whole time, you know, it's like, then maybe the movie would have been better, but bringing up Joker every 5 minutes ruins the movie for me, because it's like, you have a better villain. Why are we doing this to ourselves? And that's not to take anything away from the villain, because it was a decent villain to what Andre was saying. And I mean, Lauren enjoyed the film too, but I mean, I've seen worse villains. Yeah. But come on, this should have been the Joker. I keep saying it, but I can't hit that hard enough.
Well, now we can all be kind of just sad and depressed about what great movie it could have been if everything were different about it.
Sorry.
Unfortunately, that is often the case with DC movies, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sometimes with Marvel movies too. Sometimes, but more often than not with DC movies. Like really, they've only hit it out of the park with Joker, which honestly, looking back, was my favorite movie of last year.
And the only reason that happened is because they took a chance. And that's one thing first time you're going to hear me say anything really bad about Marvel, other than Captain Marvel probably, is that Marvel really doesn't take chances. Even though they took chances in Infinity War, we all knew they were going to take them back.
Yeah, and well, not only did Warner Brothers take a chance with Todd Phillips' script, they also were kind of hands off.
That's because I didn't think it was going to do shit. I think Andre's right about that, and to a point too. There is that aspect.
I don't think
of it,
they thought it was
too.
going to do well. I think at best they're like, we'll make our money back on the DVD and video on demand stuff, but they just wanted to do something that someone at Warner Brothers said, let's give it a shot. This could be something fun and just be a nice palate cleanser, and that's what they did, and it turned out to be a very much needed palate cleanser.
Yeah, again, as I pointed out, the irony. This was supposed to be the rebound movie after the underperforming Joker. As it turns out, this movie again throws shade on DC as a whole, while Joker uplifted it.
Well, I don't know how if the studio would have predicted how much of a backlash Joker would have had, which still confuses me. But this may also be not just, I guess, in terms of box office, but maybe just ideologically a cleanser for DC, because after Joker, obviously a lot of people were saying that DC had gone the incel route. They're definitely not saying that anymore. It's
and it's
now.
kind of a left movie, like it's kind of a left leaning movie.
It is. It's classist, right? He's
Yep.
You know, he has mental illness, and then he gets his support system cut off, and there's the evil billionaire. It is. I thought it was like pretty left leaning.
Yeah, but the thing is, it was done in a very compelling and compassionate way, and they really expanded on the neighborhood of all the suffering that's going on. He's not the only one that's being oppressed in this class like area. His boss, likes him, but it's kind of like talks down to him. He has like one friend essentially, and then he lives in his own fantasy world, and even his mother doesn't always believe in him. So you have a lot of kick the dog moments on Arthur Flex that we are compelled to wish him better, seeing all these things that he uses for support just vanishing because and they don't even really fully explain why they're vanishing, just that the cuts are happening. People are losing support systems and infrastructures falling to crap. And there's no real hero. It's just following this guy as he kind of snaps and becomes a weapon against a failed system. And it's a really entertaining movie. I mean, some of the behavioral aspects, which you can say are in Scorsese classics like King of Comedy and Taxi Driver, are there. And in some cases, they do them a bit more uncomfortable than what we see with Arthur Fleck. But the Joker movie itself just takes those ideas, makes it their own for that context, and really does something quite entertaining with it.
I think Scorsese got that movie made to begin with. He backed off after a bit, but he was attached to it for when they first announced it.
He was attached to one with supposedly Leonardo DiCaprio. And
they were going to have Leo at first, I think. But I think he was even attached to this one for a bit too, as far as I recall. And then he backed off of it. And then, of course, a year later, he decides to go out there on this comic book movies aren't movies spree. And I mean, I'm not even going to get into that. But, that's what happened with him. But
if you take a look at the last 40 years, I really have to ask, what really is a movie?
And I see, some people are giving us some heck in the chat. I mean, granted, I liked Shazam. I didn't care for Aquaman, but it did well in the theaters. I didn't think Wonder Woman was great, but again, kind of like this movie and Suicide Squad, it could have been much better, but it did well for them. But everything else they've done besides Wonder Woman, Aquaman, and Joker now has pretty much hit the ground, and they can't really seem to get anything off the ground. Well, they barely made their money on most of them. I mean, Batman v Superman just got lucky that it was a big hit on video, but Justice League probably cost them any profit they made from that.
Oh, definitely.
And then some. And the reason they made BVS, as we brought up before, was because Man of Steel didn't live up to the expectations they were hoping for.
Yeah, it failed to cross the 1 billion threshold. The head honcho at the time said that was the expectation. So yeah. Anyway, Warner has more problems going forward with Aquaman. Also, they're going to have to deal with an Amber Heard situation, which is going to be
Yeah.
No idea what it's going to do there.
I have a feeling she's not going to be in the movie at this point.
Well, let's go onto that tangent for just one moment before we get back to Harley Quinn and Birds of Prey, because I have one question for all of you about that. But tangent before that. Speaking of the future, Aquaman 2 and Amber Heard, who is now proven to be the one. Everything that she accused Johnny Depp of doing, she was herself guilty of. And he didn't do anything. And if he did, it was an extreme provocation from her. Should she be in Aquaman 2? Lauren?
Well, so we talked about this on our podcast the other day. If we say no, are we partaking in cancel culture? Are we as bad as these online activists? I think it's very reasonable as a consumer to say, hey, this person until recently has been a domestic abuser. I would rather not contribute to a paycheck for this person. I don't think she should be in Aquaman 2. I think if the gender roles were reversed, there's no way she would be in Aquaman 2. I mean, just look what happened with Johnny Depp in Pirates of the Caribbean after her allegations against him came out. I don't think she should be, but I honestly don't know if we can say that it's still not going to happen. I think from everything I've seen online, there's still other people who are carrying water for Amber Heard, saying that just because she had to act in self-defense, that doesn't mean that she wasn't also being abused. I don't know if she's actually going to get kicked out of the movie.
I agree with you to a point, in a sense that, well, first of all, I think she's not going to get. I think they're going to kick her out of the movie. But I don't agree with we should jump on this thing of cancel culture right away. But the difference is this: if you were to say like the media blew it all out of proportion, and if you listen to most of that tape to a point, you can almost get in the head zone of, oh, she really does not believe she's abusing this guy. She needs help. Now, do I think she should be punished for that? No. The point I think where she should be punished, in quotations, is the fact where she says, you're a white man and nobody's going to believe you. She's basically playing the system against him, and she's admitting to it, and she's admitting to all these things on a tape that she knows she's being taped on. So that also makes me wonder from the point of view of, well, what is she like when the tape's not rolling? Mm-hmm. And here's the thing is she basically destroyed this guy's career. Now, some of the bigger papers and outlets are starting to pick up on this a little bit, but not many. Only a few are, and most of them are obviously within certain, I want to say demographics, I guess. I don't want to, say anything specific on that. But my point is this, is I normally wouldn't be the one to jump on the cancel train for anybody, but in this case, the fact that she tried to use the media against him, the fact that her whole goal, and she basically admitted to it all, I think it almost justifies it, and I think it's going to happen in the end anyway, so my opinion doesn't matter. I think Warner Brothers is going to get a better head, and they're going to say, look, we don't need the fucking problem. She's not the star. We can kind of write her out of the story either way. She doesn't even need to be mentioned, probably. You can just write a story without her in it. They'll find a way to do it without it calling in. They'll turn around and say, oh, she wasn't going to probably be in the movie anyway. We had this story in mind before. I don't know. Rob, what do you think?
Very simply, you do the crime, you do the time. So, don't no double standard here. Listen, what's fair is fair. I'm talking in cliches, but hey, you know what? If this were anybody else, if this were a man, you'd be screaming for his head. So if this results her in getting booted from Aquaman 2, then so be it. These are not for me. This is not for me to decide, but if Warner Brothers decides they don't want the headache, then fine. I mean, everybody screams about equal rights, but except when it comes to them.
That's so true.
As for me, I'll just going to chime in before Script Doctor gets to say the industry perspective. I don't know if she's going to get kicked out or not. But I think it's the height of double standard if she isn't. Because if this were a man, we don't even need to go into if. Because everything she has done, she accused Johnny Depp of doing. He got fired from Pirates of the Caribbean based on her accusations. In this case, it's not just accusations, it is now actual proof. And what does that proof say? That proof, the audio tapes, they say something else. other than what she's saying directly. Many people don't pick up on this, but what those audio tapes say, they say that Amber Heard has a medical condition. That exactly the nature of the medical condition, it can be one of two things. Either she has borderline personality disorder, or she has full-blown narcissistic personality disorder. Any psychologist, they will not say it out loud. They will say that, you need to test it. They'll know it. Within 2 minutes, they'll know this person has one of those two things. One is worse than the other. Both basically mean that she's a full-on psychopath female version. There is no help. The only thing that can be done for her is that she can learn to be like Dexter, to put on the public face that she has in front of her friends and in front of her business colleagues and all of that fake facade where she is friendly and charming. She can learn to have on that all the time and not be her true self, which is a person that thrives on conflict. And she says that. That builds her self-esteem. She feels great when there's conflict and fighting. She absolutely loves that. And that's very typical for those with that particular disorder. That's the only thing that can be done, is that she has to learn to basically fake it all the time. So here we then have someone who then is the one who accused Johnny Depp, and what she did isn't just like the physical thing, it's mental abuse, persistent mental abuse. It's that kind of thing that causes men to commit suicide by utterly breaking his self-esteem and everything that he is. And the physical abuse, that alone would land her for jail in years. Imagine if a man had done that to a woman, like partially severing the finger and stuff like that. That's like a decade in jail just there.
Right.
But here we are talking about someone who has not only done mental abuse, but physical assault. And then she has lied and manipulated to end his career out of sheer vindictiveness and for being evil. This is
That's
also
my
something
point. Yeah, she admitted to it.
Yeah. And this is now proven. There's no longer allegations. These are facts.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that if they allow her, again, I do not want to be part of cancel culture, but this is different. This isn't allegations. This is stone cold facts.
That's what I was getting to, and that's what I was saying is, yeah, and even if she was like convinced she was in the right in some way, she threw that out the fucking window, was my point.
Yeah.
So, she
Lauren,
was in the moment.
Yeah, well, I know. And Lauren, you were going to say something. Sorry. No, I was just going to let you talk. Sorry.
I was just going to say, I mean, I completely agree with what you guys are saying in terms of what, I mean, they're going to do for Aquaman 2. The only thing that makes me hesitant is because so far Amber Heard has been like lifted up as this amazing, I don't know, paragon of virtue and, this domestic abuse survivor. But with everything that's come out now, and especially how firmly Hollywood has clung onto the Me Too movement, it would be like the height of hypocrisy, with all of this evidence to kind of just keep enabling this abuser. But we haven't really seen, as far as I can tell, Hollywood kind of connect with male victims the same way they have female victims. So it'll be an interesting test to see, I guess, how firmly they hold on to the conviction that no, we need to like cancel abusers. We're not going to work with them. We're not going to enable them anymore. If it's not in line with, I guess, the feminist point of view.
Yeah, that's the thing though. But again, I will say that this is different because this is what she has done. If it was a man, if it was a civil court or something, she would be looking at years in jail.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
and
totally
really,
agree.
she should still be. She should still be. Like, if this was a man and those tapes and everything, he'd be locked up for a decade minimum.
Oh yeah.
Which and again, this isn't the matter of is she guilty or not. We know she's guilty.
Yeah, exactly. And that was my point. It's not like there's even a question of whether or not does she really understand, No, she understands. That's my point. That was my whole point. And again, yeah, to reiterate. But I know Lauren has to go here soon. So did you want to tell everybody about where they can find you and all the stuff that you work on and all that great stuff?
Sure. So I'm on YouTube. If you search for the don't search for our YouTube channel on Google because we won't show up. But if you're actually on YouTube and you search for Lauren Chen, should pop up. We post videos Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday. We do pop culture things, social commentary. We do all types of videos. So we've done a Birds of Prey review, Star Wars, Joker, and things like that. So yeah, would be really happy if you guys checked us out. Or if not, I'm also on Twitter and Instagram at the Lauren Chen.
Yeah, and we will, of course, put links to all of that in the description once we have the opportunity to do so. So do check that out.
I'm working on that
For now,
right
I
now.
Perfect. And also, Lauren, I would like to say thank you so much for joining us. It's been an absolute blast to have you on.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you guys so much for having me. Like I said, I'm a huge fan of everything that you do. I love the, I guess, like industry and production information you guys include in your videos. There's not another channel like you guys, that, as far as I know. So keep up the good work.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, thank
We'd
you.
love to
We
have
will,
you
and
again, I'm
we'd
sure.
love to have you.
Yeah,
you're
for
welcome
sure.
anytime.
Jinx, Andre.
All right. Thanks again, guys. I guess with that, I should get to filming my episode for tomorrow. Bye.
Well, we appreciate your time.
Everyone,
Thank you so
go check
much.
that out.
Yeah. Bye.
All right, take care.
So yeah,
Take care.
Script
Thank you.
Doctor, what is your take on all this then, from the industry perspective? And then we'll get to your guys' super chats. You guys have been so patient. We appreciate it so much.
Yes,
Well-
that's next after Script Doctor.
Okay, so my take is, well, if I was Amber Heard's publicist, I would say right now, admit to wrongdoing, go seek help, and make some sort of Phoenix Rising type of story for your career, because that's the only thing that's going to save it in the court of the public opinion. I think authorities should be involved to investigate this, because she is kind of manipulating a movement to further her career and get revenge, or whatever term you want to use to it, against her soon-to-be complete ex-husband. I think that's wrong. I also think that whoever is behind the Me Too movement should probably be not supporting her, but actually not cancel culture either, but just pointing out that this is not the behavior the movement stands for, to sort of like redefine it and its values for the public, because there are people in Hollywood on both genders that do like to take advantage of their positions of power and use sex as a currency, which I don't agree with. And I think that's what the Me Too movement should be about, which is that sex is not a currency. And you know, the whole believe women thing is, I'd rather just take every accusation seriously and have it fully explored by those who have experience investigating it, which would be the authorities. That's my take on it there. If I was in Warner Brothers' position, I'd probably be doing the same thing, saying, sorry, Amber, this is not going to work out in any way you think is going to be beneficial to you or for us, and we will go another direction, and we wish you the best of luck. And if you need help, we have a lot of people within our company that know where you can go to seek that. So take advantage of that, as it were. And that's my take on it, because it's a, like, relationships are already complicated enough, and when they're already thrust in the public, especially with your 30-mile zone coverage there, it just adds more complications to it. And when you're dealing with actors who are essentially puppets that sometimes believe they can think, when in most cases they can't, that's when you have literally people playing with fire, and that's what we're kind of seeing play out right now, not just with Amber Heard, but with the movements that some of these actors are supporting, and a lot of the speeches we're going to be hearing later tonight if you're watching the Oscars, which I will not be doing. I will be watching Star Trek: The Undiscovered Country, and I think you should all too.
That was a great speech, and I'm definitely going to rip that comment about actors and thinking from you. Oh, and everyone, if you do feel like watching Star Trek: The Undiscovered Country as well, remember the Moon Praxis. That's the allegory for Chernobyl, for those who have just discovered that recently. And great insights. Very interesting to hear your take on that. So thanks for sharing. And with that, let us finally move into the super chats. And they begin with Austin Trench, who sent us $1.99 saying, really enjoyed the film. Sad it's not doing well. Followed by Stargate 404, who sent us $2 saying, you misogynists. Birds of Prey had the 71st best DC opening. Love some satire. Austin Trench followed up his previous $1.99 with another $1.99. Thanks so much for that, saying Bird of Prey is a tank girl movie without the sex jokes. Yes, I was thinking that when I was looking at Harley Quinn and how she was in this one. I was like thinking, this isn't Harley Quinn, this is Tank Girl. I agree with you so completely with that.
I've heard that a few places now. Yeah.
Yeah, but of course, a proper Tank Girl movie would be very much the same, but have nudity to a level that Margot Robbie probably wouldn't be comfortable with anymore. But yeah, that's neither here nor there. Anyway, Mexican Iron Man sent us $14.99, saying, "Yay, Lauren Chen, super great videos and awesome content creator. She is indeed, so go check her out. With an awesome guest Midnight's Edge. P.S. I also liked Suicide Squad, and Quinn, one of my favorite DC characters. Hail from California." Hail, California. Son sent us $10, saying, "I'm glad you brought up DP." I think that would be Deadpool. Why make Harley a
I
lame
hope so.
Deadpool knockoff? She has... Yes, good point. Good point, yeah. Very good point there. Although it would be very cool with a different kind of DP in a Harley Quinn movie. But yeah, let's not go there.
Let's not go there. We'll get in big trouble there.
Yeah. Why make Harley a lame Deadpool knockoff? She has so much going for her. Also, what does it say about the female character that just rips off a popular male character? Actually, it says more about the studio than it does the character. Stargate 404 sent us $5 saying, "Andre said he likes Norwegian mythology. There is a new show on Netflix made in Norwegian called Ragnarok. You seen it? Take this for a bottle of mead." Well, thanks you. I'll spend that on a bottle of mead. Yes, that is true. There is a new Norwegian show called Ragnarok on Netflix. Avoid it like the plague. If you see it in the recommendations or something, just don't do yourself a favor and don't click on it. It's absolutely horrendous. Avoid. It's a disgrace to all of Norway. So yeah, stay away from it. Seafood Diet sent us $1.99 saying, "Hey Lauren, so glad you are on Midnight's Edge. I'll be sure to let her know." Drew Skull sent saying, "Oh, I love you, Lauren. Keep spreading the truth. Did you feel empowered when Pelosi tore up the speech?" Laughing my ass off. I'll be sure to pass that forward to you. Maybe she can answer that next time she comes on. Hopefully, I imagine there's going to be a next time. Stargate 404 also sent us $10 saying, "Even the man who saved Huntress, he still shot her family." Oh yeah, good point. And isn't it kind of a low bar to set for a good male character to not kill a child? Also, we see that when trained, she beats her trainers. Yeah, of course, but still, that's kind of like a point I also made, that there was one good character in the movie, or one decent one, and he was still a hitman, so he was a piece of shit, he too.
We forgot the egg salad sandwich guy.
No, but he turned up. Oh yeah. The
She
one
had
with
to
the
make
hairy
fun
arm.
of him, but that was about it.
Yeah, he was the butt of a joke. He didn't do anything wrong, other than he served food, and he should be shut down by health and security. So yeah, no, even him couldn't do anything right. Nelson Sheretta sent us $5 saying, "So make a movie with no male gaze to show all men are evil, but then wonder why men don't want to see this. This was not for men." I agreed. Should have said in the marketing, "Men, your presence is not welcome," because it pretty much wasn't. Drew Skull sent us another $5 saying, "Hey, women are strong and empowered now. Look at Amber Heard." Too true. Drive-by commenter drove by with a $10 for us, so thank you so much for that. "Not only stronger villains, you need henchmen to work aggressively as a team, and the protagonist to move defensively like Jackie Chan's old films." And none of that we got here. because like 5 ladies were able to beat all 400 such henchmen.
I hate
Uh,
that.
Yeah, just
I just
brace
hate,
yourself.
yeah. I just hate.
Brace yourself, because in this movie you're going to have like 50-year-old tiny alcoholized Latino women beating up adult men.
It's not even that. It's like never. The biggest rule of screenwriting is don't make anything easy for your protagonist or hero. And you see shows like this Arrowverse stuff where they're beating up 50 guys, and it's from like a 90-pound woman or just one slim superhero. And what's the point in having all these henchmen and stuff if they can't pose a threat in numbers only to your hero? It's not cool to see them just plow through a guy.
That's my biggest problem with a lot of these too, is when you have a great number of villains, and I said this while I watched the movie, I don't know how many times, it's like, in real life this wouldn't happen because they would all gang up on the person, or they would head them off or whatever. Like when Harley takes over the fucking police station, the reason it's a big deal when both Terminators are able to do that is because they're a freaking machine who can't be killed. Because the chances of you infiltrating a police station are, what, 700,020 to 1, to quote C-3PO? I mean, come on. Unless you've got a whole army and an arsenal, I mean...
Yeah,
do the Die Hard approach. One henchman, you struggle to beat one henchman, and you're lucky if it's a one-on-one fight.
Mm-hmm. The Terminator is an inhuman killing machine. That's its function.
Harley Quinn is a former psychologist gone crazy.
Exactly. Therein lies the difference.
Yeah, a 5'0" girl who weighs $105 takes out an entire police station with a beanbag gun. I'm sorry, it's hard to believe.
Not just the police station, all the criminals wanting to get her as well. She beats.
On top of that, you're right. Yeah, because in the basement, then she runs into all the bad guys.
So yeah, that was yeah. Anyway, moving on. Next super chat. Where was I? Yes, Stargate 404 sent us $5 saying roaming noticed this as I saw her review, but did any of you notice the incel violence scene when a guy bombs her apartment and it shows eggplant emoji? I did not notice. Tom and Rob, did you notice?
No,
I know the scene that he's talking about, but I'm trying to remember. That was the other problem with this movie. It was so loud and obnoxious at times. Like, the editing was...
In other words, you didn't notice. Neither did I.
I mean, I've seen some people say that even Mr. H said that some of the fighting and choreography was great. I didn't think so. It was all like low-level shot, really choreographed, in my opinion, action, and then all the other action scenes. Sorry, I was just gonna say all the other action scenes were nothing but loud noise and a bad soundtrack. I mean, most of the songs are remakes. Sorry, Andre, you were gonna say.
No. I'm basically like, the choreography was really over the top and cartoonish and not good at all. It was better. It was better than what's his face, Iron Fist, but that's about it. That is not saying much. Moving on, 52 movies a year. Sent us 99. Midnight's Edge. What are your thoughts? Should the MPAA add W for a woke rating? Just kidding. Love the live. Thank you so much.
Speaking of Mecha Random, who's on our screen right now, her and Rob have been working on what is it, the Wokemon Bingo or whatever.
Wokemon, yeah.
It's a sequel to our STD Bingo.
Yeah. Somebody actually did make a Picard bingo card, almost mocking us. I'm like, oh, thank you. You've saved us the trouble now.
That's right. That was a pain in the ass to find that first one. You guys have been working on the Wokemon one for a while.
Yeah. And let's see where we were. Oh, yeah. Oh, here's a good one. This one goes for you, Script Doctor. Sonic Stan sent us $5. Movies like this that are nothing but agendas and male bashing have to eventually stop, right? Or do studios want to keep losing money? Your thoughts on that, writer?
Yeah, they're eventually going to stop. Well, not so much stop 100%, but they'll definitely be less frequent. They'll be less tentpole-y. They'll be less associated with intellectual property, because the box office, regardless of how much Disney has pulled in with several of their billion-dollar takes, box office has been dropping like by between 5 and 10% every year steadily for the last 10 years almost. And when you have these dramatic declines for supposedly hugely high concept and accessible films, it does send a message. And it's a very useful one, because everyone in Hollywood that makes those decisions, not just from the marketing side of things, but also from the head of studios, they look at the bottom line. And if they're able to find that pattern, that correlation between this approach to telling these intellectual property stories and getting almost no money back as a result, they're going to start changing tactics again. So yeah, sadly, we as the consumer have to suffer through it. And sorry, just thinking for a moment there. So yeah, we as a consumer have to suffer through it, but eventually the dollars are going to redirect studios into making choices that they think will be far more profitable, so that they can still make experimental movies.
Well, you almost think they have to at one point, because I mean, they got to be only a couple more of these away from going, yeah, we fucked up. And we only need a couple more hits like Joker and Bad Boys 3 to show that if you make good movies for everybody, or whether it's a male audience or not, people will go see them, because you can't turn around and say, well, only white males went to go see Joker, and only men went to go see Bad Boys. No, that is not true at all, obviously. So it goes. Now, am I saying every movie has to be a male charged whatever kind of movie? No, but if you make decent movies, people will go see them. Terminator could have been a decent hit. You know, everybody loved Sarah Connor. She is one of the first names that are mentioned when people mention their favorite female heroines. Or that was kind of redundant. Sorry, they're female heroes.
But it will take time. That's the other part.
But yeah, that's the thing. And then they turn around and make her a failure without even thinking about it. This movie's full of that kind of shit. That's what all of their stuff is full of. They try to make these these big points to hit you over the head with, without even thinking through how they got to that point and how much damage they did on the way.
And sadly, the Hollywood model, the way it works is that because they take a couple of years to make a movie and then release it, they're going to be a couple of years behind. And there are some projects that are going to get canceled mid-production when they start seeing other studios fail, but there's some that are just going to double down and push it through, and because they don't want to ruin a relationship with either another production house or a director or an actor or a producer. Writers, they don't care about in that regard. So it's not going to be an overnight thing. It's going to take time, and as I said earlier, the audience will have to suffer through it, sadly, but luckily all you have to do is just not spend money on it, and that will eventually reach Hollywood. It will take some time, but it'll reach Hollywood. I think it's going to be about 4 years before things kind of look more normal. We can only hope that there's going to be some filmmakers that really break out in that time period, that don't exactly do what George Lucas and Steven Spielberg did, but hopefully inspire a lot of other people to take a new approach to movie making and storytelling that everybody can get on board with, and doesn't feel like going to the movies is a chore where you're going to be walking out disappointed all the time. I'm being hyperbolic there, but you understand. Hopefully people understand what I'm going for.
Yeah, absolutely. To sum it up, vote with your wallet. And remember, we saw this movie, so you don't have to. Keep that in mind. So yeah, basically that's it. If you want to change, vote with your wallet. And moving on to the next super chat, also from Sonic Stans, who sent us $5 more. How do you think those behind this film will react when Black Widow becomes a hit? Will they give the Elizabeth Banks excuse? Script Doctor?
If Black Widow becomes a hit, will they give it the Elizabeth Banks excuse? I don't even. What is the Elizabeth Banks excuse? I'm not
The
familiar with that.
Elizabeth Banks excuse basically is that what was it she said again? That
She said
that
men didn't go see the movie. I think.
Oh, right.
That's-
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
that they were scared. They were scared of the strong, independent women or something.
Oh,
like
I thought that was
or
Tim
They
Miller.
all said the same. Yeah, well, he said that too. Like it was some
Yeah.
variation of it. That
Most
men,
of them all say the same talking
Yeah.
points. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. I mean,
Same shit.
I think they'll say Marvel brand will probably have saved it more than whatever else it'll be in there. If Black Widow does well, I think everybody wins out of that because it means that people and audiences enjoyed it, and Marvel, knocked another good movie out of the park. Which, I mean, who loses if there's a good movie?
They're already taking us out of context because we've
Yeah.
said all this time that Black Widow deserved a movie before Captain Marvel did, and it would have made sense to put a Black Widow movie between the Infinity War and the other film if you really
Civil
wanted
War.
to amp her. Yeah, no, Infinity War and
Endgame.
Endgame.
Oh,
Yeah,
I thought
because
this was
that's where
between
Captain-
Civil War and Infinity
No,
War.
Captain Marvel was between Infinity War and Endgame. That's the only reason it made me money because her character didn't mean jack shit in Endgame.
Oh, no, I understand what
The
you're
only
talking. I
thing
thought you meant
she did was
narratively.
save Tony. That's
Yeah.
all she did in that movie. And as far as that goes, like I said, if you give Black Widow her movie between those two movies, it gives that much more impact when she does make the sacrifice in Endgame. Spoilers for a
Yes.
year-old movie.
No, yes, I totally understand. I thought you meant like in the Marvel chronology. It's
No.
between-
Yeah, no.
You mean
like everybody
okay.
was saying the same thing. Rob, Andre, I think said it at one point. A lot of the other YouTubers we talked to, and they all said the same. Why wasn't Black Widow the first female Marvel film? That doesn't make any sense.
I was expecting a Black Widow movie like right after Avengers because of her introduction to Iron Man 2 and what she did in Avengers. I was thinking, yeah, they got to. It's
Well,
like a
weren't they going to
no-brainer.
give her a series for a while? Wasn't she supposed to get like a TV series for a while? I thought they were setting it up with S.H.I.E.L.D., but I could have been wrong.
I heard as soon as the first season of S.H.I.E.L.D. ended, I heard that they were going to be separating the S.H.I.E.L.D. from the actual films.
Well, that's
itself.
probably what happened, but
Yeah.
yeah, sorry.
Which is a silly idea for me because having a TV show that you can pair with a film franchise just seems like really good multi-level marketing.
Oh, but they're still doing that. They're just like cutting everything that was before from the equation because Kevin Feige didn't make it. It was Jeff Loeb who made it and who messed it up. Whereas now, instead, it's going to completely interact with all the Disney stuff, Disney Plus stuff, which is made directly under Feige's supervision. So that's
Yeah,
like
with
they're
streaming being
still
a direct to
doing that.
market,
Yeah,
they make
exactly.
more money. Yeah.
Exactly. So they're still doing that. They're just like pretending all the stuff from before that never really happened. It's like the new strategy there. Anyway, moving on to the next super chat, which is from VGEDRR. I'm sure there's some way to pronounce that I missed, but anyway, he sent us 10 Australian dollars saying, pretty funny that Joker viewers got called lonely incels despite having plenty of company in packed theaters. Meanwhile, the women who called them that were all alone in their Birds of Prey screenings. The funny irony is I actually saw more men in my screening than I saw women.
Well, the numbers
So-
we got for that article was 53% men. I find that hard to believe. I think it's a lot higher than that. These
Yeah,
are
I
early.
think that's so too.
These are early numbers and shit. So who knows?
It's a superhero movie, and they always sway more towards the male audience. So yeah, but still, in Joker, at least you weren't alone in the cinema. Here you will be. It'd be like you and 10 other people.
Yep.
Yep. Carl Manvers sent us 5 New Zealand dollars saying, we need a new Harley Quinn in the same way Kenzie Taylor is the new Captain Marvel. You know what? I kind of agree. I thought that Margot Robbie really wasn't that special here. That wasn't the Harley Quinn I know. That was Tank Girl.
Yeah, she was serviceable in the first film, but here, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I'm sure a million women could do a much better job with it.
Yeah.
Who's that one?
well,
Who's that one you like all the time, Rob? You keep bringing up. Too bad she's a little too old for it now, but
Yvonne Strahovski,
No, the other one.
Katie Sackhoff.
Yes, she would have probably made a good Harley Quinn like 10 years ago.
Oh, Jamie Priestley also about 10 years ago. Even actually now she could do it. She could do it now. Like it doesn't matter.
I know
yeah.
who could do a great Harley Quinn right now. The one from the Big Bang Theory, squeaky voice, Melissa Rauch.
She voiced it in an animated movie.
She did the voice.
Yeah. She did the voice in the anime. She didn't do a great
horrible
job.
job.
Yeah, that's the one where she farted in the Batmobile, right?
Okay.
Oh,
Well,
fuck
I
that
haven't seen it. I don't
joke.
know.
I made you must not have watched my review, Andre. That fucking joke goes on for over a minute. She farts in the Batmobile, literally, and the joke goes on
And
way
Batman
too
says,
goddamn
like,
long.
it smells like victory. Like, what the hell? Just God. Ugh, yeah.
It was bad.
It was bad.
Oh,
all
yeah.
around.
But Kaylee Cuoco does the voice on the current one. I haven't seen that one yet.
See, now I was gonna say she'd be a better choice than but I
Yeah,
don't even
again,
know. If she did that great.
10 years ago. 10 years ago, maybe.
Let's just do a campaign. Jamie Priestley for Harley Quinn. Just
Honestly,
Yeah,
I guess.
she's in her
That
early
would be
40s, but she
15
looks
years
like
ago,
she's
yeah.
29 still. So
Oh, okay. So congratulations on whoever does the injections there. But, yeah.
I don't know
who
if she
is,
does.
right,
She's
Andre?
the health nut.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, maybe I take it back then. I stand
No, it
corrected.
could be, but like I do know she's a health nut, and she's not Gwyneth Paltrow like health nut. She's like, I'll keep it to myself type of thing.
Yeah. Still, I think that she's too old for it at this point. But yeah, that's neither here nor there. Anyway, moving on. GS Sheriff sent us $2 Canadian saying Hollywood doesn't learn. Woke cinemas is crap.
I hope they're learning. I hope between all these movies that they've had here in the last quarter and this and whatever else they got on the docket that's going to be in the same vein will just fizzle and die. I don't hope for things to do badly, but if you're going to make stuff like this, especially something like this that could have been something better, then I guess you get what you fucking deserve, to quote the Joker.
Yeah, I mean, in my little circle that I know of in Hollywood, there are a lot of people that already know the stuff that is being discussed here, and it's just until they get they work enough years, pay their dues, and get to their higher positions, will they be able to stick to that mentality and just try to make the most entertaining thing. Where the whole goal is we want an audience to leave the theater happy and hopefully buy another ticket to go back and watch it again.
Yeah. And with that, Matthew Kadish also had a very succinct comment. Or
Hey!
however you say. Yeah, so hey, Matt. Matt, of course, check out our previous Birds of Prey live stream. You'll find it in the Roundtables playlist. If you just go and click on playlist and like the
It'll probably
main
start
menu,
playing after this,
you'll
but
find it there. Well, that's no guarantee, but
we can hope.
probably, hopefully, we can hope. But anyway, do check that out, for that was very interesting. Anyway, Matt sent us $5 saying, "Don't you guys know this movie wasn't made for you or anyone apparently?"
Or anyone apparently. Of
Yeah.
course, bravo, Matthew. And Matthew, of course, was the gentleman we were talking about earlier as well. So that's what the video, of course, we were just discussing is mostly covering. So
Yeah. And then Drew Skull sent us $2 saying, "I keep saying it, Demolition Man is coming true."
yeah, too bad Anna wasn't in here right now because everybody's trying to get her to watch Demolition Man. I wonder if she's got a chance to yet.
Yeah, and I don't really want to live in a sewer, but okay.
I would say though that you're almost right. Judge Dredd is coming true, and
We're
by that,
getting
I don't
there.
mean the Stallone movie,
Oh,
the 2012 movie with Carl. That is coming true. That's our future.
I really want that Judge Dredd TV series to get out of its purgatory and be made.
Oh yes, so do we all. I just hope that it's gonna if and when it finds its way out of purgatory, it will be made right.
Yeah.
That's my one hope and prayer there. Stargate 404 sent us another super chat, this time $5, saying, "You guys didn't root for it to fail, but I certainly did. Get woke, go broke."
Again, I like. Fair to be fair, I did kind of root for it a little bit, like I said.
Yeah. These movies need to be failures to send a message to studios to stop this. Yeah, this is what we said before. If you want to send a message to the studio, don't pay for these kind of movies. That way you vote with your wallet, and that's the only thing that's going to make any difference. Rivers727, our good friend and supporter, sent us another $5 saying, do you think Birds of Prey is the turning point for Hollywood to stop making their movies woke? If not, at what point will they get their heads out of their ass?
Well, we kind of covered this already. But,
Yeah,
so,
but
Script Doctor. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
Well, it's
just
kind of like the third strike, don't you think? With
Yeah.
Dark Fate and Charlie's Angels and now Birds of Prey. That seems like 3 strikes, you're out.
And that's what I was
yeah,
saying
that's
too. Is
what
we
I'm
need
thinking
some
too.
we need some higher profile. Another hope. Ghostbusters. That's probably the turning point. It
Maybe,
was a turning
yeah.
point to begin with. It will probably be not to interrupt you, Script, but I think so. I think go ahead off that if you want to, because really, don't you think that's like because they're already kind of pinning it on it's our fault that Ghostbusters 2 didn't happen, and if
Yeah.
this movie's actually good and a hit, I think it'll put the final nail in the coffin. I don't know what you think.
I think it'll probably close out the whole pattern of recognition sort of thing. Because I mean, my understanding is that Ghostbusters 2016 kind of brought this behavior about movies and blaming audiences and whatnot to the surface, if I'm not mistaken. I don't
Yes.
recall studios ever blaming audiences for a poor reception of their film.
Yes,
Studios
once
usually just
before.
studios just
Fantastic
go
Four.
quiet. Oh, fantastic! Wait, Fan Four Stick or
And Fan Four Stick.
okay?
It all began
I remember
with
Josh
Fan
Trank
Four Stick.
went crazy over that one, but Josh Trank
Yeah,
was
he did.
going.
Yeah, but there was a little bit of it but there they did it in advance. It was like the audiences are racist and they didn't see it because of Michael B. Jordan and they couldn't handle a strong black man in the movie. So that was like the excuse right there.
No, that was
But
not my problem with the film.
it wasn't so much as it became with Ghostbusters 2016 that wrote the playbook. However, I disagree that that's where the things turned. I would say that's where things really started. That's where people went freaking
True.
nuts behind the scenes. These are the 3 strikes that Script Doctor talking about. This is where it ends, but it begun with Ghostbusters for real. Because although that movie failed at the box office, it was successful as a rallying cry for those that were really behind the cause. Because that had everything, the mix of politics combined with an election and standing behind Hillary and then Trump won and all of those things, that all conspired together to drive people into a frenzy.
Yeah,
these are
Sony's
the
was more
2,
preemptive, and Fantastic Four was like reactive, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So that makes sense. I think. Yeah. So it starts with Fantastic Four reactive, and then from there, Sony decided, okay, let's just do it preemptively because of the political climate, and yeah, now we're kind of seeing the chickens come to roost, so to speak.
Exactly.
But again, it's not going to be an overnight thing. Sadly, it's going to linger, I think, for another year or two, if I could speak. And yeah, it's the pendulum's going to swing the other way. It's bound to happen, even if in the positive era of movies, it's going to swing to be bad again. I mean, you can take no better decade of example than the 80s versus the 90s.
Yeah.
So it's going to go back and forth all the time. We can only hope that if the pendulum does swing in the other way after we have a nice little positive movie period, that it doesn't swing back into this exact direction again, where there is a crazy amount of politics or agenda that's dominating the narrative of the film and blaming audiences for not buying tickets. So we can only hope. I mean, it's a speculation game at this point. We have no idea 100% what's going to happen.
This is also the first time I can remember in the history, well, like the last few years here, beginning with Fan Four Stick and Ghostbusters and so on, where we've actually had politics being shoved so directly into all forms of entertainment. Yeah, you've had, political movies that made political statements in the past. And you had certain franchises that kind of leaned towards certain political things. You know what I mean? and certain exploitation genres that kind of led in certain directions too. But you never had this overall thing where you had like such a huge political agenda in every maybe outside of a little bit in the 80s. There was a lot of the America fuck yeah pro Reagan shit in some of the 80s movies, but you know what I mean. But
Yeah.
outside of that, there was very little of that
Those
until
movies
recently.
are better for it.
Well, and even
Well,
if
I'd say that
they're
as a
not
non-American.
built on that though. That's my point. Is they weren't built outside of Top Gun. Maybe was like really like one of the most, but like those a few random ones here and there. They weren't built on that whole mentality though. And these movies are all built on this mentality that we have to shove this agenda in there no matter what.
But the difference I noticed from those movies compared to now is that whatever the agenda is being pushed forward, the opposite agenda is being pushed back just as strong. And so that's where you have the struggle and tug of war, so to speak. And it's through like the skin of the teeth that one side wins over the other. But here it seems like the agenda is pushed forward, and then whatever the opposite is just being so lazily executed and very much hollowed out so that it can actually appear to be a threat to whatever the hero's goal is. And I think that is a form of patronizing in a way, and probably why some of these ideas are not being as successful, among many other reasons, of course, with the execution. They're doing it in a very direct, non-thought provoking way.
Let's move on to the next super chat with Anthony Durrell saying $5 saying, "This is why Baron Harkonnen is neither gay or overweight in Dune 2020. He is a lazy, straight white male." Now, I'm curious, is that something you know, or is that something you assume because Stellan Skarsgård is cast? Because if he is straight white male, that's complete news to me. Would that be news to you, Script Doctor?
I'm sorry, I was not paying attention there. I saw something in the chat.
Okay, yeah, no, it's basically in Dune, Baron Harkonnen, is he suddenly a skinny, straight white male in the movie? You heard anything to that end? Because I haven't.
Neither have I. No, I have not.
Nope. Yeah.
Well, that's the one played by Stellan Skarsgård, right? You just said that, yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. Unless he lost a shit ton of weight.
Yeah, nope.
And they'll probably have him in a fat suit, I'd imagine.
As far as I know, he's going to be in a fat suit. He's going to have the proper working suspensors, just like they are in the books, and he's going to be gay still, although it's a little bit more implied and not so in your face as in previous things. But there will be very little doubt about his sexual preferences, is what I heard. So then we shall see. Moving on, Matt G sent us $1 with no comment, so thanks for the support, I guess. And then Stargate 404 sent us yet another $5. Thank you so much. Didn't Warner fire the producers of Aquaman and Shazam? Yes, they did. That would be Johnston Berg. Because they were, as you say, blaming Justice League's failure on them, and Birds of Prey was supposed to be the first film under the new manager. New manager being Walter Hamada. Actually, Joker was the first movie released on his watch, but I should imagine that he probably greenlit both Joker and Birds of Prey on the same day, I would imagine, although we learned of one before the other. But yeah, you're right as far as we go. This is the second movie greenlit by Walter Hamada, or certainly a second one released that was greenlit by him. Nightwish fan 1991, seen them live a couple of times, apart from the 1991 bit, sent us $5 saying, Will Smith publicly said he hates Jared Leto. Well, considering all the gifts that he left for the castmates, I think he's probably not the only one hating him. Or are there some hidden affectionate feelings towards Jared Leto that we're not aware of, Script Doctor?
I don't know about any more of the hidden stuff behind there. I mean, method actors are either loved or hated based on what the actions they do during production. So I don't know. I really don't know. I don't have the opportunity to deal with as many actors as I would like to. I'm stuck with other writers and producers and executives more often than not. But I personally thought what Jared Leto was doing with his method acting for Suicide Squad was incredibly inappropriate and incredibly unprofessional, and that's definitely going to affect his career with the people that worked on that movie. I don't know how about other people from other films who want to work with him, but those people there, they're going to have take a moment to think before they agree to work on a production with Jared Leto. I know that.
Yeah, I seen that interview, and from what I know of Will Smith, he's very love him or hate him, and yeah, he's got certain faults that come with most actors, but for the most part, I've heard he's a real nice guy, but he's also like really professional. So like if you're somebody who comes off as an unprofessional, I guess he takes that really personally.
Yeah, actors comes in all shapes and types. So, yeah. Anyway, Termite 30 sent us $2 saying, I hated how Suicide Squad glossed over the abuse.
Yeah, that's when we touched on live.
Yeah, I hated that they glossed over it here much more, or rather ignored it completely.
Yeah, because you could have built the whole film on it, like we talked about with Lauren there. It's a sad situation. We could have had a better movie than this.
Yeah. And then VGEDRR sent us $5 Australian saying the only good Joker/Harley Quinn movie would be a Silence of the Lambs style psychological thriller. Anything less would be uninteresting. Yeah, my God, that would be amazing, wouldn't it?
Oh, man.
I was hoping we were going to get some of that stuff in Suicide Squad from the previews, but we didn't.
Imagine if you had Brian Fuller in charge of writing that. Like, just look at what he did on the Hannibal series. Imagine if he was in charge of something like that. How amazing could
a Harley Quinn origin film, Silence of the Lambs style? God, that would be.
I'd have been all on board, yeah.
Because you'd have Joker escaping and being brought back by Batman every so once in a while. Because you have Mad Love, the comic book it's based off. That would be based off of. That's a good foundation. Then you've got the narrative and I guess a visual approach from Silence of the Lambs, and then you have the creepy, witty banter between Harley Quinn trying to help the Joker and the Joker slowly manipulating her and taking advantage of her own personal desire to be a famous and recognized psychologist.
Well, that was the other thing that bothered me about this movie, again, as usual, kind of like with Suicide Squad 2, was, I mean, even though he had the cameo in Suicide Squad, here again, it was like, where the fuck's Batman? You have Ace Chemicals blow up. You have a bunch of mobsters getting killed. You have all this shit going down. Don't you think Batman would be a little interested in this shit? I'm just saying.
Can't be used when he's with the Matt Reeves film.
Oh, I know. I'm just
yeah.
I'm being facetious or whatever. But my point is, it's just like, yeah, it's another thing where you have a problem with these, shared yet not shared universes now all of a sudden, when you should have just probably just wiped the slate clean and started fresh.
And the next comment is the comment of the day. Now we're starting to get into our getting off on an Amber Heard tangent. Younglist sent us $10 saying, cancel culture is when people call for canceling for people's opinions or words. This is a violent crime. Cancel culture doesn't apply in this situation. Yes.
Not wrong. Yeah, yep. I agree.
That's kind of on the authorities,
Yeah, this is kind of like what we're saying. You just put it in so much better words. This is not the same. This isn't cancel culture at all. Doesn't apply here. Because Amber Heard is a violent criminal offender. And if this was a trial, if it was a man, we'd be looking at a decade in jail.
Yeah, if this was a Florida couple, it would already be resolved and in jail.
Yeah. Stargate 404 sent us $2 saying, Andre, I couldn't agree with you more on Heard. Yeah, there you go. And then the unrelenting male gaze. Oh my God, that's a perfect topical nick right there. Sent us $1.99 saying, let's add Brie Larson woke to our vocabulary. And then GP Spectre sent us $5 saying, I think Margot made the movie to get fans to stop asking her to do the role. Even Phil Spector made the song Do the Screw to get out of a contract. Yeah, I'm not so sure. I think that she really wanted the movie. What is more, I think that she wanted to shine. And honestly, this may be nasty of me, but I think that's part of the reason why she didn't want to do the Harley Quinn / Joker movie, because then she would have to share too much screen time with another actor, whether that be
Oh,
her
absolutely.
or not.
I
In this
think you hit
case,
the nail on the head. Yeah.
yeah, in this case, she gets to shine, and she gets to say it's an ensemble movie when really it isn't.
Well,
It's
look
a
at these
Harley Quinn movie with guest appearances from these other people that just show up a few minutes here and there.
Pretty much, and that's the thing. And then it's a perfect night to bring this up because she's an award. You know, did she win the award or she just got nominated? I can't
She's a
remember now.
contender, right?
Well, she was for Wolf of Wall Street, I thought, but I don't think she won. She's at least nominated. I don't want to be wrong here, but that's the thing. That's what most of these actors do when they get into this position where they can do something that's prestigious and then they can do something that makes them the bank. That's what she wanted. She wanted a franchise she could hang herself on. So then when she goes does the other movies that don't make money and get her all the awards and prestige, then she knows how she can pay her bills because she can just go do another Harley Quinn movie.
Exactly.
Oh, and something to note, and whenever you're watching television or movies and you see a female character wear a bright dress, like a red dress or a blue dress or a green dress, and no one else in the scene is wearing any of that color, that is basically a vanity thing from the actor or a producer who really likes the actor so that they will stand out. But you don't really get to see that same thing on the male side. They're going to be like James Bond wears a suit. Sure, it's a really nice suit, but a lot of other people and extras in those casino scenes and stuff are also wearing nice suits. But he's still able to stand out because it's not so much about what he's wearing, but about the presence that they're able to evoke when they're on the camera. And that's something to pay attention to when you're watching television, especially if the actor in question is not very confident in their role. I'm not going to say bad because you never know how they're being directed, but if they're not confident in the role, if they're not confident enough to draw the lens to themselves, they're going to be wearing a kind of a flashy, vibrant outfit to compel the audience to be able to focus on them. And that's not usually a good sign with regards to the production because it means that they don't have faith in the cast and they don't have faith in the context of that scene or that story. So that's something to that's some inside baseball, as it were, to pay attention with when you're watching your media, if you see something like that.
Well, that's a very, very good point and an excellent observation. But yeah, that's what I think too, that in this case is all about Margot Robbie being a little bit, I don't want to say selfish, but certainly putting number one first, let's say. And then moving on, Justin Norris sent us $1.99 saying, I am watching Bumblebee tonight free on Amazon Prime. Well, congrats. I hope you enjoy it. I know I did. It's my favorite Transformers movie, bar none. And finally, the last one that I can see so far, I'll do a double check afterwards. But anyway, the Deadly Alien Invader sent us $4.99 saying, Hollywood will never learn. I mean, how many movies made this mistake and continue to make it? Well, as Script Doctor already said, it takes a few years for them to catch up. So now, when they have like these 3 strikes in like the last 6 months, the movies that are coming out the next 3 years are already in development. So anything that happens now, they're learning from this. You're not going to see on screen for like another 2-3 years, maybe 4 at the most. So yeah, anything to add to that, Script Doctor?
No, I mean, yeah, average time is going to be 3 years for a studio to pull out a movie that they're really confident in. Could be shorter with some of the new special effects technology and post-production stuff they've got. But yeah, it's not. I wish it could be an overnight thing. It would be great if it were an overnight thing. But yeah.
Now, if they could learn from Joker, it'd be a different story.
Yes.
The right lessons, not the wrong lessons, mind you.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't mean to interrupt that, but
yeah,
no, you're right on point.
Script Doctor, I'm curious because the last few months we've had some very, very interesting developments. Joker, the movie that everyone championed for to fail, other than Marvel, but other than Warner, and DC who made it. But other than that, pretty much everyone.
Yeah, but you
I
didn't see
saw-
Warner out there sticking up for it either, Andre.
No, but they tried a little bit. They just had to be
But
really
not to the
careful about
point
it.
they would any other, you know what I mean? Where they wouldn't have been out there going, oh, no, you guys are getting the movie all wrong and this and that and the other. They didn't really do any of that kind of shit.
No, that's true. That they did not. But
No,
anyway,
I think they didn't do that on purpose because I think they wanted the movie to speak for itself and not come out as being a defensive of that type of culture it was being accused of.
It wasn't the
sometimes
wrong
it's better to
move.
be silent. Yeah.
You're not wrong there.
yeah. Anyway, my question is, we then had the Joker, despite all the desire from the industry, not by Warner, but everyone else, seemingly, including like the surrounding satellite industry of the media and entertainment journalism. They all wanted to see it fail, and it didn't. Instead, it became $1 billion movie. Whereas all of these movies that were promoted so much for their values and wokeness and what have you not, failed. How big an impact have the last, say, 6 months had?
That's a tough question. I would say that it kind of highlights how empty the values that these journalists are promoting with regards to these films are comparatively. I would just, as an observer, I would just say it looks like the audience isn't seeing through the BS. Like, I just think of that way. I hope Hollywood, at least the big ups that are able to greenlight and make decisions for what is being made, see this and change gears. If Joker tonight wins enough awards, there will be a faster change. That's just the way it'll work. So we can cross our fingers there, but I have no idea how likely that will be. There is a double-edged sword with this. Because the Joker did so well, a lot of other movies are going to try and copy its formula and do the same thing. So we'll get a little oversaturated with news about those movies like that being put into production. Some will be released, others will be canceled due to scheduling conflicts or what have you. I think it's a bad idea for Todd Phillips to try and make a sequel to this with Joaquin Phoenix, but they're probably going to do it because the money's going to be right. So we can only cross our fingers it's going to be good. I didn't think making a Joker movie was needed or even going to be good when it was first announced, but it wasn't until a few months later when I got the script and I read it and I thought, okay, yeah, they actually have something to do with this. So let's cross our fingers and hopefully my taste is in line with the majority of the audience.
I was pretty much in the same boat, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people were, because we were always like, Joker without Batman, why? Like,
yeah, but here's the thing: is when you say like and that's what I was getting to earlier about them learning the wrong lesson. Is we're going to get a slew of dark bad guy movies now that don't necessarily need to be dark bad guy movies, and they're going to lose the whole idea of what it's going to be. Instead, the real lesson should be you can make a superhero or a supervillain movie or whatever, a comic book movie on 50, 60
for less than $70
million.
million. Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry, you were going to say something else there.
The other thing I was going to say is that Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight trilogy influenced Man of Steel. Even though Zack Snyder was the one directing it and he wanted to do his own thing,
yeah,
people really like that dark and gritty stuff, and they want it. And when enough people in the public advertise that that's what they want, Hollywood does listen, and they will try to reconcile that want with the product that they have. And that want has created the DC films we've had for the last 10, 11 years almost. And we're kind of seeing that maybe it's not always best to apply the same type of thematic approach from one character to all the others. And that's a lesson I don't think Hollywood will ever learn. Sadly, they're always going to go with what seems to be the most easily marketable one and the coolest one. And I don't like to use the word cool in that way because cool changes all the time. Nobody knows what cool is. And the only kids that care about cool are children. And what do they know? They're children. They haven't been around as long as adults. So why should they be dictating what's popular and cool? That's just my opinion there. Before I ramble on anymore. But I think Hollywood's going to eventually see the numbers, especially when the end of the business year comes up, which I think is spring. And that's probably when we're going to see some new announcements for upcoming movies, some changes in studio heads, and maybe some smaller studios releasing some horror or low-budget science fiction films that don't do those agenda pieces and make some money. A Quiet Place is an example of one that made a lot of money that kind of doesn't really have a whole lot of agenda in it.
Halloween's going to force you're going to see a lot of back to the old school kind of horror stuff.
Yeah,
too.
Halloween's a great one as well. So we'll see what happens. I wish I was far more ingrained where I could be that fly on the wall and hear all those cool things, what's going on. But sadly, I not only am not in that position, but also another thing I have to remind a lot of people about is that even in Hollywood, because nobody knows anything, 99% of the stuff that's being talked about deals being made or projects being announced is mostly rumor and will mostly end up never seeing the light of day. That's just kind of the way it is. So it's when you do get a good nugget of information and you do get some confirmation that something is going through, then you actually know for sure, because for instance, how many different Star Trek 4 announcements have been made in the last 18 months?
Right. Well, to be clear, though, and it seems to be more and more so as we keep pointing out, these are only announcements made so they can try and get some money to back this up, because somebody desperately needs to get a Star Trek movie off the ground because they're going to lose the license.
And that is Hollywood in a nutshell, especially with the access media. If someone wants to get a project running, they will find a journalist who is part of a decent publication, be like, hey, can you just write this story up so that we can probably get these guys who are not taking our calls to just pick up the phone once, so that we can get in there and try and pitch them this idea. That's the nature of the game in a lot of regards. Sorry, respects.
Exactly, yeah. So most of those announcements, they aren't really real announcements. They're really funding pitches. And
yeah, they're testing the waters in the cheapest way possible to see if their idea will be good or bad.
Exactly. And with that, we also have one more super chat, which is from iCthulhu, who sent us $10 saying, when are they going to have these superheroes actually fight crime on screen? Every movie seems to be an amped up Bond movie about the world ending instead of these characters helping people.
Agreed.
Yeah, and agreed. And I think we've said that a few times with some of the few films that we have had. Like the last Spider-Man movie was, even though I didn't like it as much as the one that preceded it, I at least liked the fact that everything wasn't world-ending. You know what I mean? It wasn't it was just it's kind of in its own little self-contained little thing, and it wasn't like we need the Avengers because everything's going to come crumbling down. And that's what Marvel needed to do with these films, is they need to learn that you need to be able to do these on a lower level without making everything an earth-shattering event, or you're going to keep wondering, well, where the fuck are the rest of the Avengers? Because they should be here,
Or
just
where's it going to go next? Yeah.
Right. It just is one avenue of this whole thing. But yeah, there is other aspects to this as well, right,
well,
Andre?
The rumor is that the Batman will be an intimate, contained thriller. So, I mean, not contained in regards to a single room, but contained within the city of Gotham. It's not going to be a world-ending stakes film. So, hopefully that rumor comes to fruition and is true, and people will enjoy it.
And equally, hopefully, the star won't muck it up. Although I'm not worried about his talent, but about his looks. But hopefully he'll be fine. Hopefully Robert Pattinson will nail it.
I hope so too.
Yeah, although that's honestly what has me the most worried at this point.
Yeah, I always find it a little concerning when me as an audience member is a little bit bigger in muscle tone than the superhero.
Yeah. Right. Anyway, with that, we are all up to date with the super chats, and then I would like to take the opportunity to thank all of you still here in the roundtable. So thank you, Script Doctor, for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me. It's been a pleasure.
Certainly, and also thanks to Rob and Tom, as always, for being here and sharing your insights.
Of course, and of course, thank you to Lauren for joining us earlier. Lauren, I'll put her info again in the chat here real quick.
Yes, absolutely. Special thanks to Lauren Chen, the formerly roaming Millennium, who deigned us with her presence. It was a blast to have her on. So everyone, go check her out. Go check out her channel, which is also excellent. So go there for not just pop culture, but also some very real shit. If you pardon my French. So absolutely go check out her channel as well. And with that, I'd also like to thank every single one of you in the chat. Dragot Belmont just said, I wonder if how many are familiar with Andre's profile avatar of eSWAT. I'm curious about that too. How many recognize that? You can save that for the next
We
slide.
usually get a few comments about it, but if we're going to get so many upset people if you do not say Frankenstein and Frig.
Frig. Why would I say frig? Anyway, this movie was not a Frankensteinian mess. It could have been a Frankensteinian mess, but it wasn't. Instead, it was just meh. And that's almost worse, because with a proper Frankensteinian mess, we have more fun tearing it apart. So yeah, that's
What the frig was that?
yeah. What frig? I'll say.
You must
frig
have
if
said
you
it
want.
once when you meant to say the F word, and I don't know. Somebody
must be.
keeps asking for it, so
Frankenstein frig, I guess.
I guess. True Skull says it's $5. If DC was smart, they'd redo Batman in the '80s, then have Flashpoint retcon everything. You can transport Aquaman back in time to problem solved. Yeah, I don't think
well, time travel is always sticky.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna put it that way. Time travel's sticky.
Yeah, you can do anything with time travel. You just can't always make it good. And with that,
you have to.
everyone. Yeah, sorry, carry on.
Oh well, one thing: if whoever's out there that is a writer, experienced or not, just coming up, whenever it comes to time travels, figure out your rules, set them in stone, and don't break them. And you should do better than most people that attempt time travel, because once you break your own rules with time travel, you lose their story. And best example is your in Endgame. They set the rules and then break them.
Yeah, that was pretty lame. That was one of my biggest issues with Endgame. And with that, once again, I'd like to thank every single one of you in the chat. It's been an absolute blast. Go check out Script Doctor at his channel. Go check out Midnight's Edge After Dark. And also go check out Lauren Chen, who has an excellent channel of her own.
And Script Doctor, of course, too.
And Script Doctor. I do believe I said that. But
did you?
Okay. I didn't think you did. I'm sorry. My bad.
Yeah, but to check out him too. A good thing cannot be said too often. Everyone, thank you so much. It's been a blast. Have a great evening, day, morning, wherever you are. Bye.
See you later.
Thanks for watching, everybody.